Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Screen Time Continuum. My name is Nick, and that is Keilyn over there. How you doing, man?
Very well, in yourself. How you feeling?
Not too bad, not too bad. Happy Hump Day to everybody. We hope that you're having a wonderful week so far. We are back with our Game of Thrones Season 4 recap and retelling and reminiscing in my case. But yeah, so we did a little special episode for WandaVision on Saturday, which we're going to do again this Saturday or Sunday. For the finale. But in the meantime, that we wanted to kind of continue this Game of Thrones revisiting. Keilyn has not seen the series in its entirety. He just finished season 4 of Game of Thrones. Now we're going to talk about it. Now we're going to get all of his thoughts, all of his theories on what might happen next. Maybe his favorite death, maybe his favorite scene. Who knows? Just join us and find out. And I guess before I go any further, Keilyn, season 4 is complete. What are your initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts. Hathor! I dislike that he's playing a character that I don't like, but that's one of my first initial thoughts. I was very excited. For people that don't know, I just like athletics. I love sports. So I already knew who Hathor was. And the moment I saw him on screen, I was probably more excited than I should have been just watching the show, right? And then I realized who he was playing, and I got disappointed again.
Right. Oh yeah, that's because of the Mountain's been through like 4 iterations or 3 iterations of actor.
3,
yeah. So he was somebody different in almost every season, but now Hathor is going to be
for the rest of the
now on.
Oh, okay,
yeah, for the rest of the series.
I can get behind that. Let me think. Another initial thought. Ding dong, the Wicked King is dead.
Finally, right?
Right. And beyond that, Lannisters and Baratheons, man.
Lannisters like cats and dogs.
And Baratheons, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or lions and stags.
Right, lions and stags, exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. I think it's their season 4 is a little bit, we had this discussion before we just after Monday, we have little wrap-up discussions after Exofathom, and we were talking about the 4th season, and you had mentioned that it's kind of more of a slow burn.
Yes.
But I think that was before you saw the last few episodes. So do you feel the same way?
Actually, yeah, I do. However, I feel like the information in the last couple of episodes was what you took from the actions that were taken versus, I'd say, like episode 1 through 6, honestly, maybe even episode 1 through 7, but I'd say 6 for sure. You really just had to pay attention to the dialogue and the change of scenery for the characters and what that was about. But you're absolutely correct. Once we got to those last few episodes, the action picked back up. But I do still feel like it was all in lieu of just telling the prelude to the next few seasons.
Yeah. So in this season, you get the battle at the wall. So that's kind of like the big action set piece, right? So
right.
We won't get there yet. We'll kind of start. But which character do you want to start with on this sort of journey through your experience of season 4?
Let's start with the one we're the happiest about.
Okay, go for it. Who?
Joffrey.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's appropriate because he kind of gets cut out pretty quickly. So
yeah. So by episode 2, Joffrey's gone. Joffrey's dead. But what I thought was interesting, I honestly didn't see his death coming so early in the season. But he was definitely going overboard very early. It was almost like the first 2 episodes were solely watching Joffrey do the most disgusting things that he could possibly do. Yeah. And that, I think that was to dredge up our emotions, to make us feel away, and to make us cheer when he choked to death and when he was killed by the strangler poison.
Yeah.
And what I thought was most interesting about that entire situation, you have so many things going on around Joffrey, and he refuses to enjoy himself by any means. And what I mean by that, I understand that Joffrey has his own level of enjoyment. I understand that, Joffrey's level of enjoyment comes from harming people and or things. However, you're getting married and you're 15, dude. And you're getting married to one of the prettier women of the kingdoms, and you're the king.
Yeah.
Why are you upset?
Yeah, he's pretty
made
miserable
you this way?
But you have to think about it this way. He's a child of incest, and he's
True.
an inbred child of a sister and a brother. So
he could have been going mad.
Yeah, mental stability isn't necessarily on his side. So, he might not really need a reason for being so crazy. How'd you like his new sword, by the way?
I actually love the new swords.
Heart
I did not like, Heart Eater. Now, if I'm being honest, I did not like how the sword came to be, of course, but that's last season, or excuse me, that's season 3. So I'll let that go.
Well, they do melt it down in season 4, right?
Right, they melted down in season 4, correct?
Yeah,
they don't melt it down. So what we're talking about, guys, is the Valyrian steel sword of Robb Stark was melted down and made into 2 swords, one for Jaime, one for Joffrey, who has passed. So of course his name kind of eludes me already. But no, I love the sword. I love the sword. I thought it was a very great gift to get from your grandfather, an even better gift to get from the hand. But of course, I'll say this. There was one moment in the wedding specifically. I'm not even going to talk about some of the other things before the wedding with Joffrey. We'll just cover the wedding with Joffrey.
That's the biggest part. Yeah,
exactly. There was the moment where he took the sword and he like sliced at the table in front of everyone, and it's like, nobody? No, still no. Okay, you don't remember that you're still his parents and you have to teach him? Okay, cool, no problem.
No, they're all afraid of him.
They're supremely afraid of him. And then he cuts the pie and kills the pigeon, and I like how that was utilized later in the lure of, well, how do we know what really killed him? And from there, I think we can honestly jump straight to Sansa, even though her story gets a little crazy, and it does kind of fly down a path. And before we get there, I'll allude to one part, but I want to get to Tyrion a little later.
Can we talk about just one more, the last scene where you see Joffrey?
Yes, of course. And that's that's part of the Tyrion thing, but go ahead. Yes, of course.
Oh yeah. So I just wanted to say there is so Joffrey dies and then he has his body laid at the sept of Baelor, right? And that's when Jaime and Cersei decide that they're going to have a lovemaking session right next to the body of their dead son.
Oh, wait. Let's back up. That was not a lovemaking session.
No, it wasn't. That's true. I don't think Cersei wanted that. Yeah.
He definitely raped his sister.
Fair enough.
The most disgusting part about that to me was it made me consider. I'm glad you did bring that up. I like that. Not I like the scene, but just the way it went. It made me question their relationship, in all honesty, until a little later, of course. But it made me question their relationship. It made me question if it began as her choice.
Yeah.
What that really made me wonder was, how did this begin? How did this come to pass? What is the purpose of you saying you love this person, but you're not going to listen to them when they say that this isn't something they want at this moment?
Yeah.
And how often did that happen? Because aside from the grossness of it being incest, that's beyond overboard.
Yeah, it's definitely beyond inappropriate, and I just wanted to bring that up because it's one of the more shocking concepts that you would see on TV. You know what I mean? Like, I think we glance over some of these like things, like just not us specifically, but just kind of like as an audience, we kind of just overlook stuff sometimes. And it's like, well, no, we probably shouldn't overlook the fact that like one character raped his sister in front of the corpse of their son.
Of their child, right?
Yeah. Like that seems like that's a, yeah. So, I mean, and it's weird too, because Jaime's kind of going on this sort of weird redemption arc of character where in the first season, he's this villain. And then, you start to kind of feel for him a little bit, but then he does something like this. And I'm like, oh, well, you're a piece of crap again. So,
well, I mean, hey, 2 scenes later, he kind of, again, you're on his side. And that was what irritated me, but we'll get to Jaime in a moment. Because I do have a bit more to cover with Jaime specifically. But so when we get to the end of the wedding, that is Joffrey's death. Now, as we're getting there, I'll start right at that last two scenes getting to the end when he begins to berate Tyrion.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's just one of those situations where you can only get away with something for so long.
Yeah.
And no matter whom did it, we know who did it. And we're going to be able to discuss that in a moment as well. But no matter who killed Joffrey, his actions warranted anyone, and I mean anyone, to say, you know what? All right, I've had enough. The world doesn't need a king like this.
Well, and you even have that sort of moment in the Sept with Tywin and Tommen, right? Where Tywin's kind of talking to Tommen, the little brother, about like the mistakes that Joffrey made.
Correct.
And why, it's better to rule in a different way than the way Joffrey did.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Everybody was kind of aware that Joffrey was an awful person. And, yeah. And really, it was, I don't know if they were so scared of Joffrey as much as they might have been afraid of Cersei's retaliation. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I think that more people were probably afraid of Cersei than Joffrey. But, she's the protector. Enough. So,
fair enough. I couldn't argue that by far. If I'm being honest, she's a TV character, and there were moments where I was like, okay, stop staring into the camera, because
oh yeah. yeah. Oh, she's a cold, you know what, man. Man, I can't wait for future seasons.
Nice. So as we get to the end of that, so there was something else that happened a little earlier, and this is why I wanted to go straight to Sansa from Joffrey, because they kind of blend as far as his death and then the way her story really picks up at that point.
Yeah.
And so a little bit before the wedding, Sir Dantis, who was a night before and was dismissed and humiliated by Joffrey, in fact.
In the first episode.
Right, in the very first episode. Now, at the same time, he was saved. His life was saved by Sansa, who, he's lost everything. You've already humiliated him. Don't kill him. Just send him on his way and strip him of all of his titles.
Yeah, he came in late to a duel for the king's name day. And when he came in, he was drunk. And then Joffrey, being the sadist that he is, basically had his men pour a barrel of wine down his throat in an effort to kill him, for sure. But then Sansa is the one that kind of stopped and said, well, look, he's a fool. Why don't you just keep him as your fool? Keep him as your jester.
Right. That is how he technically becomes a jester. That part I did forget. But so from there, Sir Dantis approaches Sansa while she's in the garden, I believe. And he gives her a necklace and tells her it's a family heirloom, and he has no heirs. He has no one else to give it to. But because she saved his life, he would like for her to carry on his legacy by taking his grandmother's necklace. Fast forward a little later, as Joffrey is strangling on the ground and everyone else is tending to him, Sir Dantis pops up again during the wedding to usher Sansa away from the wedding into quote unquote safety. What I thought was most interesting about that was, how did no one see them?
Just the chaos and confusion of the king dying at that moment. Most likely it was one of those things where they could kind of sneak away undetected. I think most of the focus was on Tyrion at that point too. So Sansa probably was able to slip out a little bit easier. But yeah, I mean, like, it would have been, if it had been somebody like that, like had a name, like, if somebody that was important came and tried to take Sansa away, then I think that it would have noticed. Yeah. But like, if, it's just like some servant person, maybe she's going with a servant, maybe she's going back to her chamber, what I mean? Like, so yeah, I think that that's the way they were able to sort of like sneak out.
See, and that's something I had not thought of, was the commotion. I was really just sitting there like, look, you guys been holding this woman captive all this time. You just gonna let her walk away now?
Yeah.
That's how I looked at it. Like, I understand that they weren't per se viewing her or calling her that, but she was a high risk prisoner. That's what she was.
Well, the Lannisters got really cocky with Sansa as well. They basically got to the point where they felt like they broke her spirit enough that she was like never going to disobey them, never going to betray them, And so that, I think, was part of it, where it was like, oh, we don't have to worry about Sansa anymore. You know, like she's harmless now that Tyrion is, you know, her husband, and now we can keep an eye on her. Like, but you know, like, and then obviously the way Joffrey was treating Tyrion the moments up to his death would make it seem like it's Tyrion over anybody else.
Right, correct, and that I totally agree with. But and to comment, I don't think they just thought they broke Sansa. I actually think they broke Sansa.
No,
but they didn't break her in the way that most people get broken. They broke her in a way that made her stronger.
They didn't break her like Reek.
Correct.
Reek. Two different examples of being able to escape your captors, right?
Reek.
We'll get to that. We'll get
to young Reek in a while. So at that point, Sansa is ushered off by Ser Dantis, and a little later we see that he ushers her into a boat, onto a larger boat that is already out in the ocean, and that is where she is greeted by the Lord Peter Baelish. And I guess in a real point, their stories are pretty much synonymous from this point forward for the rest of this season. Yeah. There's literally nothing that Sansa does where Peter Baelish is not a part of that, and there is nothing that Baelish does where at some point Sansa is not also a part of those same scenes.
Right.
And I thought that was a bit interesting. But then we got to the end of what was going on with them this season, and how that was going to play out, and it made a lot of sense. Yeah. But the story was being written as to what's going to happen next with a particular group of people, and that's exactly what we witnessed. Mm-hmm. So first you have Baelish. He tells Sansa everything, like how he killed Joffrey or had Joffrey killed, and the necklace that Ser Dantis gave her was not a family heirloom. In fact, it was a farce that he had made. And he pointed out to her to notice that one of the gems were missing, and that was the poison that had killed Joffrey. Yeah. Of course, we later find out where he got that necklace and all of those type of things. And there are people in King's Landing still who are aware of who killed Joffrey. And I am wondering how that's going to play out in seasons 5 through 8. Now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's going to come back up. I've seen a couple of people's faces, and I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be a secret too much longer.
Yeah, well, I mean, we do know who killed Joffrey, right? By 1, the end of the season? Okay. Yeah, I was just going to make sure, because I'm like, I don't know if that was the reveal that they did for this season. So
it wasn't even at the end of the season. I want to say it was like episode 3 or 4. Okay. So actually, I'll tell it. So Lord Peter Baelish had gotten this necklace, this trinket from Miss Tyrell, the Granny Tyrell. I forget her name.
Olenna
Tyrell. So she's an older woman. She's been around. She knows how things works. And I am almost sure this is not the first person she's had killed.
No.
With that being the case, she seems to be very adept at understanding how not only to utilize poison, but how to transport it and make it effective, but not to harm the person who was carrying it. That is a talent. Mm-hmm. That is a talent that makes her an assassin, but that's a whole nother conversation. But so that's how we find out is after Baelish explains his side to Sansa, a few scenes later, Marjorie and Olenna are in the garden, and Olenna explains to Marjorie in very plain words that no, I killed him.
Yeah, I wasn't going to let you marry that monster.
Correct. I was not going to let you marry that monster. But she also makes it very clear that she still has a duty to do, and she is going to be very well at her duty, and that Olenna, Granny, believes that she's not only going to be good at her duty, she's going to be better than she was at her duty. And she believes, when you hear her story, that she was the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a very interesting scene. And I also liked how once we got that out of her, we didn't see much more of Granny Tyrell, because what more did you need from her?
Yeah. She's going to be in the background. She's that type of character that, is pulling strings behind the scenes, and you don't find out, character. Oh yeah. She's doing good. She also gives Marjorie advice about getting to Tommen before Cersei gets too much control over her.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And that just spurns Marjorie into sneaking into Tommen's room a little late. They have a discussion. She kisses him on the forehead. Move on. They don't say anything else to each other for the rest of the season.
And that is the intro to my favorite character in the entire series, Sir Pounce. Sir Pounce.
Oh, Sir Pounce. Yes. Yeah. I'm like, wait, Sir Pounce. Ah, yeah, the cat.
Yeah.
Oh, so the cat's gonna be around for like
no, I don't know. I mean, he's the
Oh,
you don't see him that much, but it's just funny because he's like, everybody talks about Sir Pounce coming back in future seasons and stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
but, just people being silly on the internet.
I know nothing. So once we get to Sansa, it's like getting back to Sansa, I know we went over to the Tyrells for a moment, but there's not much on the Tyrells, guys. Really, the Tyrell situation is just Olenna had the necklace made, gave it to Peter. Peter gave it to Sir Dantis. Sir Dantis gave it to Sansa. We're still not even clear on how the gem or the rock fell in and poisoned Joffrey, if we're being honest.
You didn't see it?
I did not. That's the most interesting thing to me is I rewound that scene a few times, and even after he said that, I went back and I kept trying to see it, and I never saw it.
So it's there if you look. So what happened is, like, right before the feast, Olenna goes up to Sansa and touches the necklace for like a split second, and she grabs the jewel off of the necklace. Wow, and then I guess she passes it. She either passes it to Marjorie or slips it in the wine herself. Yeah. So
and the wine was right in front of them. You are wow. That is and I'm telling you, when I say I tried a few times, I was just like, all right, I'm not gonna see it. It's probably not something you can visually find.
Yeah, so it's there.
I might go back and look. I might go watch it after we do this episode.
Yeah, she definitely touches Sansa's necklace and then kind of fiddles with it for a second, and then like you could see after that one of the jewels is missing.
When you did this, I remember the visual now. You're right. And I didn't realize the visual was missing. She did touch her and she kind of like, oh, that's a pretty necklace kind of a deal. And wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You, sir.
It's a cool Easter egg. Well, I get really deep into the rabbit holes, and then I find these videos that are like things you missed in this season of Game of Thrones. I'm like, well, let's see if I missed stuff.
So at the end of the series, we're going to have to do a rabbit hole episode. Is what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All of the little Easter eggs that we didn't talk about for sure.
So yeah, Baelish and Sansa. And so of course Sansa's kind of just trying to figure out Baelish at this point. Now she's trying to figure out, what is your interest with me? Why are you so interested and where are we going?
Yeah.
He explains to her they're going to the Vale to her auntie, Lady Lysa. Mm-hmm. Man, oh man, oh man. So that Lord Baelish. Correct. Oh yeah, I'm gonna speed through her because there's not much to get to her except for but
craziness. Yeah,
that was wrong. But so once they get there, he's explained everything he needs to, but he also explains to Sansa, you cannot be Sansa Stark. No one except your auntie and I can know who you are. And the reason is, if you watch this show, you know you can't trust anyone. That includes your own father.
Yeah.
So at this notion, it's just, hey, she's his niece, Elaine, which I thought was like, really? Elaine? Elaine. That name doesn't even sound, I don't know why. It was something about the name Elaine for Sansa. It didn't even make sense. It was like, that is the biggest lie, and everybody's going to catch that that's a lie, right?
Oh, yeah.
But once they get there, they get in. Auntie Lysa introduces herself to Sansa. They have a huggy hug moment, and she introduces her to little Robin. And then this is where I thought it got a little weird. So you want your niece to marry your son, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old cousin love. Yeah.
There's a lot of things in this show that make me like, come on, man. What's wrong with you guys? Like, I understand they're trying to stay relevant to the times. I
suppose, but I don't even know how much that was happening back then too.
Well, and that's what I was going to get to. That's what I was going to get to. I understand they're trying to keep up with the times, but we weren't in those times. So how do we know that that's a real thing?
Exactly.
For all we know now, you're just being nasty.
Might just be being nasty, most likely. Yeah, but so she's supposed to marry Sweet Robin. We find out that Lord Baelish is supposed to marry Lysa. So he's just jumping all over the place. So right now he's the Lord of Harrenhal. and then he marries Liza Arryn and becomes the Lord of the Eyrie as well. So he's like the Lord of 2 realms at this point.
At the same, yeah. That blew me a little bit too. I was thinking, I was like, so does he still have Harrenhal?
Yeah, technically, yeah.
Yeah, right. It never came up, so I assumed so as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure in future seasons, well, he's in the Eyrie, so I don't see him leaving the Eyrie because it's the safest place for him.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This build up. Wait, I don't want to jump too far ahead. So for the next step with Baelish and Sansa and Lady Arryn and I remember their last name, Lady Arryn and Robin Arryn. The next move with them is really just Sansa trying to figure it all out. What can I do? What can't I do? Who am I?
Yeah.
What is all of this? What is the rest of my life going to be? And her aunt Lysa comes to see her after she marries Peter Baelish. And she's essentially telling Sansa how she doesn't trust Sansa because she thinks that Sansa has some type of a love affair going on with Lord Baelish.
Yeah.
And when Sansa said, like, I can't find the word. I want to say professes.
Profusely.
That's the word I'm looking for. When she is profusely making the statement, like, no, auntie, no, like, that is not even, why are you, what? He's in love with you.
She has no desire for Peter Baelish.
Correct. However, I don't think Sansa was aware of Baelish's love for her mother in that way, like to that level. But the entire realm is aware.
Yeah, everybody knows. But it's kind of like a secret that only the older people who were around knew
when they were children.
Like the kids. Yeah, the kids don't know it all. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, he was basically obsessed with Catelyn Stark. So,
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. And I think the reason that maybe the kids don't know is Ned might have killed him.
Oh yeah. Certainly. Well, he did. Ned gave him Ned's brother gave him like the scar. He told that story in season 1 where Ned's brother was, he basically had a fight with Ned's brother over Catelyn's honor, and Ned's brother, Ned Stark's brother. So, his name was Brandon.
Right, that wouldn't be Stannis. You're right.
It was one of the brothers that got killed by the Mad King.
Okay.
But yeah, he had a duel with Baelish, and Ned Stark's brother sliced him like up the chest. So I
do remember that because he showed the scar. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So he's got an unhealthy obsession with Catelyn Stark.
Correct. And well, with the Starks and the Stark women in general, apparently.
Well, the Tully women. So
they would be Tullys. They are the Tullys. So from there, the discussion that really happens between Lady Arryn and Sansa is our first honest look into how unstable Lady Arryn is. Like, you know, she's unstable from the beginning, but you don't know she's as unstable as she is until she's sitting in a room alone with Sansa, squeezing Sansa's hands so hard that Sansa's basically about to start crying because she's not understanding why her auntie is hurting her this way.
Yeah.
And then when she professes how much or profusely states, no, there's nothing going on. And she's like, I'll know if you're lying. I'll know if you're, oh, my sweet baby. Oh, poor child.
Oh, she's crazy.
I would have reached for a pin. Get off of me. Yeah. So once all of that happens and then they move on, Sansa doesn't take it anyway. She just kind of like, okay, whatever. We're not dealing with that anymore. I guess that's over now. Robin B is the little poop butt that he is. And I mean, hey, when you're 10, 11 and you're still feeding off the breast, what do you expect him to be?
Yeah.
You can't expect him to have any kind of moxie about the kid. And not because he's being breastfed, if we're being honest, but because he's being coddled.
Very much so.
Yeah. And I like that he had his tantrum because I think that was Sansa's way of seeing who he's really going to become. And he's basically going to be another Joffrey.
Yeah.
You know? And so, and that's what I am a little afraid of that because now Baelish has his hands on him. And listen, a kid that's already has that kind of a mentality definitely doesn't need Baelish grooming him in any way, especially to be a king or any kind of a ruler. once we get from that, that is when Baelish comes down after Sansa has now struck Robin, and Robin's run off crying. And I didn't really understand why he kissed her. I mean, I understand why he kissed her, but it was almost like he knew that Lady Aaron was atop there watching, and he wanted her to see it. That's how I felt. I really feel like he knew she was there.
It's part of that. I think there's part of that is that she knew Lady Aaron was going to be there to see it, and that would fuel her craziness even further.
Right.
But it's also part of the fact that, like, you know, she resembles the mother. Yeah. And he is in love with Catelyn Tully. And if you can't have Catelyn Tully because she's dead, why not have her daughter instead?
Because she's 14.
Yeah, well, you know.
My bad, I had that one locked in.
I know, I understand. But apparently we just don't discuss those types of things. And
back then it clearly isn't a thing. Once they've had their what do they call it, their first blood, you're a woman.
Yeah.
According to the medieval times that we're in Game of Thrones, guys, please don't think that that's what I believe.
No, we do not condone that idea.
To no extent. But so from there is where we get to Lady Aaron taking Sansa to the moon door. And now with the moon, bringing up the moon door, I want to back up a little bit back to Robin. Robin's fascination with that moon door is super unhealthy.
Oh yeah, well he's a spoiled brat,
right?
You know?
And that's his favorite toy. Like, wait, your favorite toy can't be to throw living people out of a castle. That's crazy. But that's his favorite toy.
That is his favorite toy.
And so Lady Aaron threatens to throw Sansa through her son's favorite toy because she believes that she's been lied to. And that her niece has a thing for Lord Peter Baelish, who is now her husband. And so she's very infuriated by the fact that she thinks her niece is trying to steal her husband.
Yeah.
Baelish comes, thinks he's going to save her. And what I thought was crazy about that, if you married this dude, you know this dude. Or I hope you know this dude.
Yeah.
There's no way you didn't know. There's no way Lady Aaron didn't know he's going to try to push me out of this door.
Yeah,
I know it immediately.
Yeah, but so here's the thing. So as much as Baelish was obsessed with Catelyn, Lysa is obsessed with Baelish.
This is true.
So you know, her fantasy was basically, and we find out basically right before she dies that Baelish was the one that made her, you know, write that letter to her husband that got him killed. That was the reason that Robert went up north to get Ned to become the Hand of the King.
Yep.
So Baelish has been behind the entire thing.
Right, 1000%. And it wasn't even just that. He supplied the poison to kill Lord Aaron. He had the letters written to Catelyn to say that she believed the Lannisters did it to cause that to happen. And then when Ned goes down there, of course, things go crazy, which I'm wondering what part of that did Baelish. I feel like Baelish had something to do with that as well. And I am waiting to find out, because right now, what I did notice in season 4, so many of his lies kind of came full circle that it was like, these aren't things you could even prove. Like everyone, not everyone, but it was like only 2 or 3 people even knew these things happened, because he has a very intelligent way of doing things. I did it. It happened. Why are we talking about it?
Yeah, he's always got kind of like plausible deniability, and he doesn't do anything directly. It's always through a whole bunch of channels to kind of like keep himself away from the culpability. But yeah, I mean, it is a little bit, I don't know. I mean, like, it is a little bit fantastic to think that one guy basically started the entire war. But, you know, stranger things have happened. So
I don't trust anybody who talks like this. They speak.
In a whisper that sounds angry,
a sinister whisper. He has the kind of whisper that would make Magneto shiver.
Yeah. It's very snake-like. He talks very snake-like.
That is the perfect description. He sounds like a hissing snake that can actually speak words.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's brilliant. And so from there, Baelish is held on trial. just because people know who he is, they know where he's come from, they know what he's about, they know what his job was in King's Landing, and the fact that he is a liar is not a secret.
You just marry the Lady of the Eyrie
Like 3 days ago,
and then 3 days later she dies. She throws herself out of the moon door. Come on now. Come on.
Right. and from there, and I was in no way impressed with Lord Baelish in the trial in any way. Sansa, however.
Well, Sansa carried him out of that whole thing. Yeah.
Man, didn't she though? And she wasn't even coached.
No. She's learning.
And that's what I saw. And what I gathered from that is she's going to be better than him. And that's going to be very dangerous for him later.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be. I mean, it's so Sansa's a little bit of a frustrating character because it's like, I don't know. Well, we can talk about that in the future seasons, but you know, like, as it comes up. But it, you know, like, it is interesting to see how she is starting to pick up the manipulation. You know, she's starting to see how people get manipulated, how you play the game, all that stuff.
And I think that is the best thing. What I noticed about the Stark children is they're fast learners. They're very fast learners, including Brandon. They're all fast learners. What I did dislike, however, before we finished the Sansa and Lord Baelish situation, there was no Rickon. And all of season 4, there was no Rickon.
No Rickon.
And I was honestly thinking that Rickon was going to get caught by someone at some point. So to not see him, I'm very interested in that.
Here's a tag for a future episode. Rickon's coming back in season 6, and watch that episode to hear that conversation.
Wait, let me think this through. Season 6, we're in season 4. I'd say they've all aged only about 2 years, roughly 2, maybe like a year and some change. So what? Rickon was about 6 or 7. So he'll be about 8 next time we see him.
I can't say anything further. All I can say is that Rickon will return in season 6, and we'll have a conversation in the season 6 discussion about his return.
All right. He's gonna come back. No, I don't want to know. Fine.
Yeah.
Fine. So, what ends up happening with Lord Baelish and the Lady Stark, because she's really the last Lady Stark. Call Arya a lady if you want to, but
we'll slice you up for it.
New ham. But so Sansa does the utmost to save Lord Baelish, and clearly she understands that, and later she makes the very clear statement, I don't know them. I don't know them, so I can't follow, listen, and protect, or excuse me, I don't know them, so what I cannot do. No, I don't trust them. Thank you. I don't know them, so I don't trust them. Yeah. And the whole concept was, well, at least she knows Baelish, so she trusts him. Yeah. He's like, do you trust me though? Like,
for better or for worse, he's gotten her this far. He's gotten her out of King's Landing. He's gotten her to this area. Like, for better or for worse, she's safe now and not away from, the Lannisters. So.
Right. And that's really what it comes down to, is the only reason she feels safe with him is because he got her away from the Lannisters. But she doesn't realize that he's more dangerous than the entire family put together.
That is not an untrue statement. That's for sure.
I mean, because think about it, he doesn't have any money. All the power he has was really given to him by them, but everything he's done has been despite them. Specifically despite them. So that's pretty much where Lord Baelish and Sansa Stark's story ends. Once the trial is over, Robin is with them. And that is what I was going to say a moment ago, is what I believe happens. Actually, I do think they're going to leave the Eyrie, because when Sansa comes down the stairs and she's dressed and she says, I'm ready to leave, we can go now. And right before that, Robin was talking about how his mother always told him that the safest place for him was in the Eyrie, and he didn't want to leave. Yeah. And I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, Lord Baelish is taking them to Harrenhal. Wouldn't make sense, but that's what I think.
I think Harrenhal's too far away. He is he is taking them out of the Eyrie for sure. But yeah, you'll have to wait till next season to see where they end up. So that'll be fun.
All good, no worries at all. So from there, let's see who else. I think from there we can go, because from there that takes it to a fine halt for them. There's no real story that's tied in to their ending.
Yeah.
So we can go from there to, let's go to Ramsay, young Ramsay Snow, and our good friend Reek, aka Theon Greyjoy.
Ramsay Bolton now.
Oh wait, he hasn't become Ramsay Bolton yet.
That's true.
When we begin this, he's just Ramsay Snow, and we already know Ramsay's a nut job. We know he's nuts.
I think the opening scene is him and his girlfriend hunting a woman, right?
Yes, that is the first scene of the look. I actually have to look down. Like, wait, yeah, that's actually my second line right here. That is exactly the first scene of Ramsay coming back into play, and Reek is his hound, so to speak.
Yeah, like a caddy / dog. Yeah, his murder caddy.
right. Yeah, his murder. Wow. Yeah,
pretty much.
Hand me my butt. Wow. Yeah, he was carrying those weapons too.
Yeah.
So, once he has Reek, and immediately Roose Bolton comes back, and he's not pleased because he feels like Theon was a much better asset when we could return him whole.
Right. Exactly.
Until, first you find out that the Stark boys aren't dead because of Reek, and then you see exactly how well trained Reek is. And that, I believe, swayed him a bit. Yeah,
that was when Ramsay basically, to prove a point, made Reek shave him in front of Roose Bolton to kind of show that Reek, is no longer a threat and basically totally controlled by Ramsay.
Right. And to me, that's the most interesting part is I never saw I saw Theon as weak, yes, but I never saw Theon as this weak. To the point of which I honestly would have thought Theon would have killed himself, or he would rather die than this,
Yeah.
So from there, with Theon, his sister Yara tries to come save him. Listen,
it's messed up, man.
Being broken is a very, very interesting thing. Like just being a broken person. Being broken to the point of which you don't trust your sister, who you're looking at, to be the person you think you're looking at.
Yeah. And thinking that
crazy.
It's a trick, that Ramsay got his sister to come and trick him, in order to try to escape. And he he's got Stockholm syndrome so bad that he's he doesn't want to leave, and he's sleeping with the dogs. So,
right. Yeah, he's sleeping in a kennel. He's not sleeping in a dungeon. No. He's sleeping in a kennel. He can't stand fully up. He can't even lay fully out. He sits in a ball.
Yeah.
And I was a little proud of Ramsay, if I'm being honest.
He handled those Ironborn, man. With his shirt off, he came out with those knives and his shirt off, and he's like, "Let's go."
I see. When I didn't think Ramsay was going to show up to the battle. So when he shows up, shirt off, with weapons ready to go, and he had blood all over him. He had already been cut up a little bit, so you could tell he was just in a fight to get that far. It was like, all right, I think I might like a little young Ramsay a little more than I'm supposed to, because he's a nut job. There's so many nut jobs.
Totally.
There's so many nut jobs. I don't even think I'm supposed to like the majority of them, but good character.
Yeah.
So what happens with Ramsay Snow at this moment is he gives Yara and her boys the option. Admittedly, he tells her, "You have bigger balls than your brother ever did. So how fast can you run?" And that's when he goes to let the hounds out.
Yeah.
Rather than hey, I'm not about to fight you no more.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna make you deal with the hard parts of this. And so from there, once they once he's letting the hounds out and Yara just takes off, they leave and she declares her brother dead. There is no more Theon Greyjoy. There is only Reek. And from there, he is utilized by Ramsay Snow to take over Moat Keilyn, which they do. And that is when his father, Roose Bolton, I guess we could call sirs him or knights him or honors him.
Legitimizes him.
Thank you. Legitimizes him with having the name Bolton. So his name is now Ramsay Bolton, who still will take part in flaying.
Oh, yeah.
Who still will take part in mutilation. The only difference is now he belongs to a household. So people couldn't accost him the way they could have, say, 3 days before this event.
Well, now he has
potentially
more power too.
Right.
Now that he's like a lord,
because he would be the Lord of Moat Cailin at this point now, right?
Yeah,
he was giving Moat Cailin, right?
Yeah.
But so yeah, once I'm trying to think here. So we have.
I don't think there's much more for Ramsay. He gets legitimized. Yeah, and then that's kind of basically it. Like Enrique is just now still his puppet. And
that's what I'm looking for. Like, is there anything? Oh, the bath that he gives Reek before he sends him to Moat Cailin. Right. I thought was a very, very interesting scene. Mostly because I kind of didn't get it at first. I thought he could bathe himself. I mean, the hounds bathe themselves.
Yeah, but a bath was probably a luxury he didn't even get the entire time.
Clearly. Yeah. I don't think they even sprayed him down or anything, because there was even the point where Ramsay was getting bathed and shaved in front of him while he was still on the flay cross.
Yeah, and his name is Reek for a reason, because he smells.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
So the next step for me, at least, would be once we get from there, Roose Bolton. I think the next person we should cover would be Brandon, because Brandon is kidnapped. Once they are captured, I think that is the most crazy part. So Brandon, Georgian, Mira, and Hodor are still on their journey. And when they see, you know what? Actually, I just realized I don't think that's how I was about to say. I don't think I remember how they got captured. They went to save the dog or the wolf.
Yeah, they were past the wall. They're north of the wall at this point, and they passed by Crasters, where the traitors from the Night's Watch, the mutineers that killed Mormont, are still there. And yes, they get captured by one of the people. And that's actually they get captured. I thought they get captured when Locke goes with Jon. Or are they captured before?
They were captured before, because that's how they were at Craster's Keep when they got there.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
The part that got me about their capture in general, how did they capture the wolves?
Yeah, I don't know how Ghost wasn't captured.
Ghost wasn't captured. He was already there because they always ordered Jon to lock him up.
Yeah.
So that part I do understand. And then there was that point where he was with General Mormont. And I believe Mormont is the one who locked him up at that point, because Jon wasn't there and he was following Mormont still.
But Ghost wasn't locked up at all. He was wild. He was out.
That wasn't Ghost. So that was Summer.
It was Summer, apparently. I don't remember how it happens that the dog is tied up or locked up. So maybe they don't even talk about it.
I don't think they explain it. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is they got captured going to save. Yeah, it was Summer. Summer was locked up because that's why they had two. Then they only had one, and they were trying to figure out where he was, and that's where he was. But that's the part that really got me. It was like they went back to free him. The other one had been captured, so now they have captured both wolves, and you go to free them, but then you get captured. Like, as you're discussing it, they literally just, hey, what are you doing over here?
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, the part about that bothered me was Jojen's ability. If you see the future and you've seen everything, so much so as he even saw the guy's death and them being burned to the ground with the building, how did you not see your capture coming? Or did you see it and understand that was a part of what needed to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that you could probably say something like that. I mean, he kind of understood too that he wasn't going to survive.
That's fair.
I mean, because Jojen kind of knew like he was going to be dead by the time Bran got to the Three-Eyed Raven. And that That obviously happened. So
Right. Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He knew so
yeah.
much about what was going to happen already. I was just curious to like, why would you let yourself be captured that way? But again, thinking in the moment, because then I'm honest, I'm taking my notes and I go through these things, but then it's a lot of times I try not to think too in depth until we get to the show so I can give you guys my honest feedback, my honest opinion, and my honest energy about it. Because if you think about something too long and then you stew on it, you're not going to be as excited about it 4 days later.
Right.
However, again, that was just one of those things for me. It's like, what's the point of having someone who can see the future if you're not going to keep us out of harm's way?
Yeah, no, there doesn't seem to be very much benefit from Jojen at all.
Right.
He doesn't seem to be a very beneficial character. Kind of seems like a liability. But yeah, so they were able to escape the capture because Jon came back to deal with the mutineers.
To deal with the mutineers. Right.
Yeah. And so they finally kind of escape, and Bran wants to see Jon, and Jojen's the one that pulls him away from Jon when he's like 20 feet away from him. Like he could have literally had an interaction with his brother, and Jojen's like, nope, we got to go see the three-eyed raven. Like,
and he was right, but he was absolutely right. If
but
Jon
like you couldn't have seen, but like you couldn't have just gone after you saw your brother, the one, like
Jon wouldn't have let him leave. He wasn't wrong. He was absolutely right. And with that, while we're on that entire moment of them being captured and being at the keep, so Locke, which we didn't cover who Locke was. So guys, Locke is
the guy that chopped off
boys.
The guy that chopped off Jaime's hand.
Right. Yeah. Chopped off Jaime's hand, and now he's been sent to find Brandon because he's on that side of the wall. And I'm wondering who's been sent to find Rickon, but we'll get that later.
Right.
But so he's been sent to find Brandon and figure out where he is. And he does find him, of course, by going to Castle Black, faking his allegiance to the Crows, and going with Jon on this excursion to take out the mutineers. And that's where he finds his brother.
That's some real deep cover stuff. Like seriously undercover, man.
Right. and the only thing is he don't make it back, so it don't matter.
No, of course not.
And so what happens is when he comes in, so once Jon and the other guys are fighting the mutineers, Locke creeps off and he goes and tries to take Brandon, and Brandon's like, yeah, this isn't gonna happen. So he just jumps into Hodor's head, starts rocking, and that's the first thing I'm like, yo, how Hodor is a monster. Like I saw it coming because I was sitting there. I thought Hodor was gonna do it on his own out of just his fear. Just like break the chain. And it was like, is he gonna break this chain? And it was like, okay, no, he's not. Once Brandon was in his head, I was like, uh-oh, he's about to break the chain.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And when I saw him standing, I knew Locke was dead. I didn't think Locke was gonna die like that. That was amazing.
Just gets his neck snapped with one hand.
Snapped with one hand. Entire collarbone is shooting out of his neck. Not out of like the shoulder area. It's up here.
Yeah, his neck is literally horizontal at that point.
And I wanted to look like pause it and really like dissect. Like, is that the spine? Which bone is this?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that I thought was amazing. But then when he jumps out of Hodor's head, Hodor sees the blood on his hands. He sees Locke dead, and he knows what's happening, but he's very confused.
Poor Hodor.
Super poor Hodor, because I think even if it was to be explained to Hodor, it wouldn't
want that.
Yeah,
he doesn't want that. Why would Hodor want that? He's gentle. He's never hurt anybody before. Why would he want to be a killer?
Right. I think if he were to know that that's how that's happening, because I think he feels like he's just losing time and he doesn't know.
Right.
But I think if he were to know, he'd not only be upset, he'd stop following Brandon. I think he'd leave. I
think so too.
I think he'd absolutely leave. And of course, he can't talk. Hodor, and like with an angry face, Hodor.
Yeah.
So once that happens, and then they move forward in their journey and they're venturing, what I thought was so interesting about Brandon, Mira, and Jojen and Hodor is when they finally get to their destination. They're traveling. It looks like Jojen's not going to make it because he's looking really sick. His body seems like it's giving out on him. He can't really walk. He doesn't have energy. And then they see the tree. And they're where they are supposed to be, essentially. And as they're venturing, That was never really explained, but it was explained that the creatures, the skeletal creatures, were coming out because of some type of an energy or power that empowered them, or a spell that empowered them. But I was curious to know, are they there to protect, or are they there as a deterrent?
Yeah,
Well, I guess that would be both.
It seems like they were probably just dormant whites that were waiting for something to pass by.
So you do think those were whites?
Oh, they were definitely whites.
Yeah. Okay. So the skeleton, that's why they say you have to burn them either way, because if you just bury them, those decompose and still become a white.
They'll just come back anyways.
Oh, that's way less complex than I thought. I was like, so is there like another type of sorcerer out here we're about to find out about? Like, what is this?
No, it's just the White Walker magic that reanimates corpses and stuff. Okay. So yeah.
And then you had the children, or the one child who, what was she making? What was that, like shooting stars that were raining from the sky?
Oh, the little fireballs. Yeah. I like how she decides to show up, after they've been struggling for about 5 minutes.
Yeah. It was very interesting to me that she had the understanding of what was going on with none of the ability to actually help.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like what she was doing helped. I feel like it simply slowed them down. Oh, okay, it helped, but I don't feel like it was like I think they would have gotten away without her help.
Maybe
Mira may not have made it, but I believe that Brandon and Hodor would have got out. I think Mira wouldn't have made it if they didn't tell Mira to come out, because she would have stayed there with her brother. Yeah. And I think Jojen was going to die no matter what. And as we found out later, he knew he was going to die, and he knew he was going to die the way he died. So that wasn't even a thing for him.
Yeah, which is kind of a cold way to go, because he's basically getting stabbed over and over again by a skeleton with no head.
With no head at all. That was crazy. It was like,
just stabbing him over and over again, and like, oh, that's brutal, man.
So once they kill, Jojen, I don't want to keep calling him Georgian, but Jojen has passed away now. And they get into the cave with the child, and they ask, well, who are you? What are you? We're called the children, or the first men called us the children, even though we've been alive longer than them. I'm like, so you're a mystic.
Yeah, they're elves.
All right.
They're kind of like elves. Elves.
Elves.
They're like one of the first races to be on Planetos, which is the world that Game of Thrones is on. So like they were one of the first beings to be on this planet. And so in the lore, just to give you a little bit of background that doesn't spoil anything, the children of the forest, which that little girl is, were around, and then men came to Planetos, like were created. And men and the children of the forest had huge war, and almost all the children of the forest were wiped out by men. So that's why there's very few of them left. And but they're kind of like an old race of beings that lived on the planet like thousands of years ago.
Wow. Okay, that is. I know that won't hurt anything for the future, but that was.
That's just some deep lore for you.
Yeah, that was a little more than I expected. I really thought that the children were a part of the tree.
Yeah, the tree is kind of part of the old magic that the children were also part of, which is where the old gods came from. So the old gods being like the original gods, which represented by the trees. The children of the forest were like the original creators of these weirwood trees, and the original worshippers of the old gods.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. Nice. I like that, because that says a lot about the potential for the involvement of magic in the upcoming seasons.
Oh yeah.
Just having natural magic beings, not like, Melisandre and all these other people who are practitioners, but natural magical beings.
Right.
And let's think. So from there, Brandon meets the tree guy, which we didn't get his name, did we?
It's the three-eyed raven.
I mean, well, I know he was the three-eyed raven, but he also said he's been other things, and this is the form you see him in now is the form he is today. But I'm thinking like we didn't get a name. Like,
so technically, it's not even it doesn't even really matter in the show because they don't give a name. But I think in the book, his name is, I think he's a Targaryen in the book. So I believe he's like one of the older Targaryens that's
But he
been
was
around like for 1,000 years or something like
right. But
that.
he was a Morg.
He was a what?
A Morg.
He's a warg.
Warg.
Yeah.
Morg.
Yeah. He's a warg. He's also, like so the three-eyed raven isn't just a warg. He's also like there's more to it than that too. But
Okay, I'll wait to get there.
Which you kind of see with how because before Bran gets to the three-eyed raven, they find a weirwood tree, right?
Yes.
And Bran touches the weirwood tree and he has a vision.
Uh-huh.
There's significance to the fact that these weirwood trees are all over the planet and they seem to be connected. So that's where kind of the three-eyed raven takes his knowledge from. That's why he's inside the tree roots.
No, yeah, that part see, that's why I asked, because I was under the impression, or not under the impression, I was curious as to, was he a manifestation of a human body to resemble something familiar?
Oh no,
was
he's a real
the tree
human.
keeping him alive? Right.
Yeah.
I was just curious as to how that worked.
The tree is keeping him alive. He was a real human that went into that cave and basically the tree grew around him.
Oh.
And he's been in that cave for like 1,000 years.
Jesus
Christ. Yeah.
See, look, they throw so many curveballs. You got to start asking questions. It's like, if we weren't doing this, I'd still probably be calling you. Like, so what was that?
Right. Yeah, and they don't really tell you. Sometimes you have to go a little bit deeper into the lore to get bigger context for stuff. But yeah, so he's been around for quite some time. Oh, I think his name is Brendan Rivers.
Rivers.
He could have been actually a Baratheon bastard instead of a Targaryen. I don't remember, but so they finally reach the three-eyed raven, and that's kind of where it ends for Bran too, right? Very cliffhangery.
Yes, very cliffhangery, which means to me at least that we're going to get a lot of Bran in that situation through season 5. What I am thinking is the reason that they kind of, I feel like they ended that very abruptly. It was almost like, I'm not going to tell you who you are. I'm going to tell you who we are and what this is all about. And then we'll talk a little later, go take a nap or something, right? At least that's how it came off. It was like they were going to drag the whole Bran thing out and make him learn more before they really give him a lot of information.
Well, and this is where you're going to start to see a little bit of the issues, because the entire story isn't finished yet. And so you're going to get to a point where the show passes the books, and that happens right around this time with season 4 and season 5, because George R.R. Martin hasn't finished the story yet. So for as far as the show creators are concerned, basically everything after like season 5 is what they have to kind of create, with just like George R.R. Martin telling them the main things that are going to happen. And so that's been that'll be kind of the difference you'll see, is that things are probably not going to be as cohesive and tight because the story wasn't there for them to reference from. So
I vaguely remember you guys all talking about, not just you and people we know, but just people who watched the show on its original run. I do vaguely remember that being a discussion of how there wasn't any source material at a certain point. I didn't think it would be this early in the series. I really thought that was like season 7 and 8 or something. But so that's interesting.
I think it starts around season 6 is when it really, like, season 6 has a lot of things that do happen in the story, in the books, but basically everything after season 6 is unknown. And you really start to get, and the thing is that with the Game of Thrones book, it's all written in character chapters. So like some characters you can get like up to season 6 and it'll be true to their story. But then other characters you'll see in like season 4, then season 5, they have to start creating stuff because there's nothing left for their character to do, so.
Which explains a couple of the drop-offs that I mentioned. That one just kind of died. There was nothing left because there is no story arc behind that.
Right,
wow.
Right. Yeah. Because George R.R. Martin's been working on the same book for 10 years, and he still has one more book after this one, and the guy is almost like 80 years old. So
the story's not even done?
No, he still has 2 books that he needs to finish in order for the story to be done.
So how is the series done?
they just had to do it because they are under the impression. So like when they started the series, George R. R. Martin said the story was going to be finished by the time the series was catching up to it. And he lied and basically grossly misrepresented how hard it was going to be for him to write this.
Right.
And he got really engrossed in like being famous. And so he just didn't write the book for like 5 years. And like he still hasn't written it. So like The Winds of Winter is the book that everybody's waiting for.
Wow.
And then after that, there's A Dream of Spring. And each book he makes is like 1,400 pages. So it's never coming out.
I was just about to say, so it's like the well, which one? It was the Harry Potter and the World of Beasts. Like that book never quite actually came out, but the movie got made still.
Right.
Kind of like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
And just so you guys don't think like, oh, you watched all the Harry Potters, but you didn't watch this. No, I didn't. It's just, you're aware of things that are going on in the world.
For sure.
So from there, wow, man, that lore, just that explanation behind the whole magical entities and the way all of that plays out, that really just blew my mind a little because
it's cool. It's pretty creative.
Right. And like, remember, I keep saying, I've said this on every episode. I like the direction they're going with the magic and everything. And I like how they are slow rolling it. They're not throwing it all up on you too fast. And even if they don't explain it, you might see flashes of something. And you're like, whoa, that's cool. But then they won't explain it. And you'll just figure it out. Maybe you'll figure it out. Maybe you won't. Maybe it'll be something that you just kind of figure it's magic and leave it at that.
Yeah, for sure.
And let's see. So we already talked about Locke, Brandon, Sansa, Baelish, and Reek. We already talked Reek. Let's talk about the variation of creatures, I want to say, or different species that are coming about. So this season we were introduced to the Thins. We already know that there were giants.
Mm-hmm.
There was another group we were introduced to other than the Thins.
Well, you finally see the White Walkers and you see the mammoths.
Correct. Okay. I realized that's what I was thinking. It was the mammoth. That's not a different. But that's back to the giants because we already had the giants.
Right.
So we already had the giants, but then the mammoth comes out. That blew my mind. I was like, is that a mammoth?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a giant riding a mammoth? That was amazing. And then for me, the reality, a very staunch reality when it comes to everything going on. And this is something that I really saw coming, but the way it was played out, and I'm sure this will come back up as we get to tell the Jon Snow story, which is people really don't believe that these creatures exist, whether it's the dragons or the giants or the wargs or any of it. It's like, oh, I've never seen that in my lifetime, so it doesn't exist. So where you even see people who are supposed to be seasoned and ready for battle running like frightened cowards at the sight of a giant. And not a giant that they're standing toe-to-toe with, a giant that's standing hundreds of feet away and has no way of actually harming them in this moment.
Right. Well, yeah, a lot of this stuff is considered like fairy tales. A lot of people like they see it as just myths and fairy tales, like we would think of like, werewolves and vampires and stuff. And so, there's a lot of doubt. And that's kind of really centered around Jon's whole storyline. His whole storyline really is like people need to know that White Walkers are real,
Right.
And like I don't know, like, does he interact with any White Walkers in this season? I don't think so.
No, I don't. You know what? I don't think anyone interacts with any White Walkers this particular season.
That's probably true.
Aside from, those aren't White Walkers. Those
aside
are
from Craster's babies.
even in this season, no.
Well, yeah.
Oh wait, no, the one. You're right. There was the one. There was the one. And that I thought was interesting. Now, if I can only remember the guy who was running Craster's Keep, the head of the mutineers, it wasn't.
I forget his name.
It wasn't the one that everybody didn't like.
It's not Locke. It's not Alistar.
It wasn't the guy that starts with an R. It was the one who was the murderer or the mercenary in King's Landing.
Yeah. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's basically the head of the mutiny.
Right. I did want to say I actually liked his character because if you're gonna have someone who's sinister and nasty, let them be sinister and nasty till the end. Don't give them a weak, soft moment. There was a couple of moments that he had the opportunity to kind of like, oh, well, you're right. I understand what's going on. It was like, no.
Yeah.
No, I don't play the nice game. That's not how we get down here.
Right.
I liked that so much so that he played that role so well that when it was time for him and John to get down, he thought he had John bested and he started focusing on the girl, trying to kill the girl. Right. And that's when John was able to kill him, which that was one of the coolest killings thus far.
A sword right through the head and out the mouth.
Coming out. Yes.
Yeah.
One of the coolest killings. And it was so graphic.
Brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, they could have just kept it at the front end of his face. You see the sword and it pulls out. It's like, no. You see it come in? All right, now let's turn to the side. So you see the whole length of the sword.
Yeah.
coming out of his head.
For sure.
So I liked that. And I wanted to make sure I got back to that.
Yeah. Well, then let's just finish up John, because John has 3 main beats, I think, in this. And the way I see it, and then maybe you can let me know. But his first beat is him going to Craster's to stop the rebellion. The second beat would be the battle on the wall. And then the third beat is him going to see Mance Rayder. Those are kind of the big 3 things that I see John kind of like in this season doing. So we can start with him kind of like he basically sets out he volunteers to go take out the mutineers at Craster's Keep, because their reasoning is if the wildlings come upon Craster's Keep and find those guys will let the wildling know that Castle Black is undermanned. And so because John told Mance Rayder that there were like 1,000 men at Castle Black when there were really more like 100. So he doesn't want Mance Rayder to know that there's only 100 men at Castle Black. And so they have to go take care of those mutineers like immediately.
Right. And well, so as we're talking about him and the mutineers, what I thought was crazy about most of the situation with John this particular season, it was really revealing to realize not only did Alistar did not like him, everyone else not only liked John, they trusted John. It was just Alistar.
Oh yeah, they love John.
Right.
Yeah. Alistar's just a jealous man.
Which he admits later.
Yeah.
He pretty much admits, like, hey, look, if you killed him, I can go on wishing she had finished killing you, and you can go on wishing you pushed me off this wall or whatever. Like, who cares? Just let's live. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was crazy, the loopholes in the hoops he was sending John through, and then to agree to send him to get the mutineers, thinking that would kill him. Like,
yeah,
you're not thinking about survival, dude. You're just being nasty.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because it's like you're starting to also see John care less and less about his life. And this is like one of the real moments you start to see that, and it's going to continue throughout the series. Is he starts to get this attitude about his life that he just doesn't care anymore. And he doesn't care about dying. Like he didn't care that he could have very well died at the mutineer camp. Like, but he just knew that was something he had to do. So it's like, he's gotten to this mode where it's like his life means very little to him anymore. And so he's just doing things because they're the right things to do.
Right. And I don't know if it's his life means very little to him. I think he's just found a real purpose that actually means something to him. And let's be real. A guy like John and Sam, in fact, guys like John and Sam, they don't need everyone else's approval, but they need their own approval. They need to do things, I believe, that make them feel like the person that they are on the inside, not the person that everyone else knows them as or consorts them as. And we found that out a little later with Sam as well. And with John, you were saying the first beat was
him
mutineers.
basically, and that's what he does. He basically gets to Craster's and he's able to, kill off all the mutineers.
Right. And it's weird that, go ahead, sorry.
No, and then, I was just gonna say, and he was, very close to seeing Bran, and then
Right.
he reunites with Ghost at that point, doesn't he? Does he reunite with
No,
Ghost
not yet.
outside
No,
Craster's? No, okay.
no. So,
Okay.
but we will get, that's actually the next step. So that's what I was going to say is I don't think much really happens with John at Craster's aside from the fact that he is there and fighting.
Yeah.
The ladies, he's telling ladies, hey, you'll go back with us to Castle Black. We'll take care of you. And they're like, look, the crows that were here beat us and raped us.
We'll take our
Craster was a
chances.
crow. He beat us and raped us. We'll take our chances on our own.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, are you going to stay here? And it's like, she spits on the ground and she says, burn it to the ground. I thought that was one of the most powerful moments of this season for these women who had nowhere to go, no real skills in doing anything except laying on their back to say, we'll figure it out. We don't want this place. We
better
out.
than it's better than where we were. We might as well just keep on moving and get out as much as possible. Yeah.
Right. So from there we get to the wall, and right before we get to the wall and the attack on the wall, you have a scene with Ygritte and the head of the Finns, whose name I cannot remember at the moment. But it's very clear that no one trusts Ygritte. They all assume that the moment she sees Jon, she's going to betray them. Or at least the Finns. Maybe not her direct wildlings think that, but they don't trust her as much as they trusted her before Jon. That is for sure. And what I thought was interesting about that was how she gets in his face and she's like, Jon Snow is mine. And if anybody gets in between it, I got a couple of arrows for you. And it's like, you don't sound like you want to kill him.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, I think that the only way that she can prove herself is to kill Jon Snow. So
I agree.
She has to kind of keep up with this. Like, yeah, I'm going to be the one to kill him. If anybody tries to take that kill from me, then I'm going to kill you too. So that it makes him feel like, oh, like she's very serious. She hates Jon Snow. It was just a mistake.
Right. Which Tormund makes it very clear later. He was thinking the same thing I was thinking. You only talking about killing him so much because you love him.
Yeah. You're hurt. Tormund's the best. I love Tormund so much. He's like one of my favorite characters.
I so didn't want to like Tormund, and then it's like, how do you not like Tormund? He's a great battle. He's a great. He has great dialogue, great lines. He's a great fighter. So it's like every time when he and Alistar were going at it at the wall, I got it. I was like, finally, 2 seasoned fighters. Let's do this.
Yeah,
I want one of them. I didn't want either of them to die, so I got everything I wanted out of that scene. I got them battling for a good little moment. Yeah, one of them got injured. Boom, I'm out of here. Yeah, he didn't run, but he ran.
Who, Tormund?
No, not Tormund. Alistar.
Yeah,
Alistar. Yeah. He got out of there. He scurried out of there like a rat on 4 legs, man.
A little bit, yeah.
And not I'm not like mad at him. Hey, he was wounded.
Not like his boy Janos Slint, who really ran.
God. Yeah, so guys, that's what I was talking about. Who tucked his tail and cowered like a crybaby, balled up into a corner. He went to where. So Gilly gets to the wall, back to Castle Black. Sam puts her in the kitchen, or one of the stores, some storage room of some sort that had kitchen like appliances or kitchen like area, and this dude just runs down there and. She's at least still standing out in the open where she have to do something if somebody walk in, they'll see her. This dude's cowering in the corner behind the door.
And that was
you're the second in command.
And he was the leader of the Gold Cloaks back in season 1.
Correct. Yeah, because he worked at King's Landing, which I still don't remember how he went from that. Like I know he, I was working in King's Landing but how did you go from that to this? And that makes me think he was working on the King's Guard under the first king under Robert Baratheon, right? Okay, and that's how.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I want to say he was around for Joffrey for a while too.
No, he wasn't Kingsguard. He was Gold Cloaks. So he was the beat cops of King's Landing. So yeah.
Okay. I do remember his face.
He didn't watch the royalty, but he was the guy that. Oh, you know what it was? It was Tyrion sent him to the wall, I think. Because he replaced him with Bronn, and Bronn became the leader of the Gold Cloaks.
You're right. Yeah, that's exactly the Night's Watch.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Wow. I actually forgot that.
So we get to the
That's
Battle
why I
of the
love Tyrion.
Wall. We get to the Battle of the Wall, and this is when they basically start charging the wall, and they got giants and mammoths, and everything is going crazy. And I think
Attacking them from both sides.
both sides, and they held themselves off pretty well. I mean, they defended the wall pretty well. That wall is pretty good defense. I mean,
yes,
they weren't really able to breach it, thankfully, even though that giant, almost died getting through.
right.
And yeah, so we see lots of sort of fighting. Then you get the battle between Alistar and Tormund, and Jon and Tormund don't fight. I don't think they don't. Yeah, they don't meet each other. But then you get the final sort of climactic scene of the battle for the wall, and that's Ygritte and Jon meeting again.
Ygritte, Jon Snow. So what I thought was crazy about that is, first Jon is fighting the head of the Thins, and he kills him.
Yeah.
What I didn't really understand. No. I'm not gonna say I didn't understand. What I really didn't see coming was the way that they had their little moment. I thought their moment was going to be a little more high pace, a little more action, a little more argument. And I honestly thought it would be more isolated. I didn't think they would be out in the open for it to end the way it did, which is the way it ends is when Ali shoots Ygritte in the back and the arrow goes straight through her chest. Now, I'm trying to remember, was it Sam or was it Jon that told Ali to get a weapon and fight back?
It was Jon.
I thought it was Jon as well.
Yeah, I believe so. And what's funny too about that is that so Ollie shoots Ygritte, but Ygritte had Jon in her crosshairs. And you see that, but you see that smile on Jon's face, like he was ready for her to kill him.
Yep. If it was somebody he would die to, it would have been her, because he wasn't going to try to kill her.
Yeah, he wasn't going to try to kill her. So like he kind of accepted in that moment, he kind of accepted his fate as like, all right, well, you got me,
And I honestly think had Ali not followed his instructions, she still would have been killed, but she would have been killed by one of her own, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's actually what I expected to happen. When she got hit by the arrow, I thought it was one of her own.
Right. Jon would have been dead. So, there you go.
Right. Yeah. Because they definitely would have got her and Jon. They wouldn't have just, and then.
Yeah.
I was so proud of Ali, but I was like, and then side note, I thought it was very funny to me because the Ali kid looks like this kid I know in real life. And I was sitting there, I'm like, man, he looks like that kid. But the kid, he looked like that when he was like 9 or 10. The kid's like 15, 16 now. So it's not him. But it's so funny because every time I see him, I want to like call his parents like, so when did you get your kid into acting? Why didn't you tell anybody?
Right.
And this was like 8-9 years ago. So he was around that age when, I see it and I'm just like, you guys are mean. Right. So if you guys are watching this, yes, I thought that was your child on Game of Thrones.
Nice.
But I thought that was also just cool because just like with Arya, just like with Sansa, just like with Brandon and all of the other children that are involved in this show, I enjoy watching their growth. And Ali's growth went from his town being attacked, being told his parents were going to be eaten alive, being sent to Castle Black as a cowering child, to now being someone who is confident enough to shoot an arrow into somebody's body to take them out to save someone that he knows and cares about. In those times, I would think that would be the same thing as a kid having their first drink.
Yeah.
Every person, it seems like in this era that Game of Thrones is set in, everybody has a body on their hands. There's no shortage of murders or killings. Yeah.
It's kind of a life. So the battle kind of ends with the evening. Basically the Night's Watch has won for now. That was just kind of like the first siege, and they barely made it. So a lot of them are like, well, we're gonna die soon anyway. So And kind of Jon knows that too. Like Jon knows if they can't last another couple days, they're just like, you know, one battle almost killed everybody. So he kind of talks to Tormund about it, and then he also decides that basically he is going to parlay with Mance Rayder in order to try to gain peace. Although you find out later that he was expecting that he was going to try to kill Mance Rayder, and he was ready to die himself because Ygritte was gone, and he was just like, all right, well, I got nothing to live for. I might as well go out doing the one thing that we needed to get done, right? You know, which is kill Mance Rayder.
And keeping in mind that in Jon's mind, and this is why I agree with you a bit on Brandon should have at least addressed Jon, even if it was like, hey, Jon, as they're leaving, right? Because Jon is under the impression that he is the only living member of the Starks and he's a Snow.
Yeah. He basically thinks his whole family is dead.
Correct. So you're right. He really does have nothing in his mind to live for other than Jon Snow. And I think that's going to be the thing that powers him the most is he doesn't have these things holding him back. Like, oh, well, if I'm not here, what about so-and-so and so-and-so? There's no Ygritte. There's no family. There's no General Mormont. It's just you and Sam now. There's no Grin. We don't know if Pip made it because we didn't see Pip at the end. So it's really just you and Sam right now. You, Sam, Gilly, and the baby. And little Sam.
And I think there's I don't know if this was said in previous seasons, but it was Aemon Targaryen, the Maester at the Wall. He says to Jon at some point that love is the death of duty.
Correct.
And so that's kind of like one of the themes that Jon is seeing right now is like he's basically has to eliminate all the things that he loves in order to do what his duty is.
Right.
You know.
Right. But again, that's what they signed up for. Yeah. You know, I think it's just like when some people go to the military, they don't read the fine print. They just read this is what my paycheck gonna look like. And I only got to do it for this amount of time. Okay, cool. What are you gonna be doing for that amount of time for that paycheck? Because nobody's giving money for free, buddy.
Right. Of course.
And you know, again, I think some people are comfortable signing up for those things, and then some people are kind of just like Jon was. They thought it was an easier route than what they were currently living.
Yeah, and so Jon goes to Mance's camp and basically tries to parlay with Mance Rayder in order to find some sort of agreement. And basically, we find out that Mance Rayder, his bottom line is he needs to get his people on the other side of the wall before the White Walkers take over everything.
Correct. And so what I think is crazy is how this is Mance's very first time saying straight up, like, hey, we need to get to the other side of the wall for survival. This isn't about anything else but survival.
Yeah.
And when Jon gets there, first, hats off to Jon for just being the coolest, boldest guy in the world. You went in, one, unarmed. Two, you walked into the heart of their camp by yourself. Yeah. Like, if that's not the ballsiest move ever,
after you've already screwed them over.
Right. After you screwed them over and basically lied, you know exactly what you said to this man. You know that he told you that if you were to betray him, he'll kill you. And you still came right to his doorstep. Hey, Dad, or hey, buddy, you know, what's going on? Yeah. And so I respect the way that Mance Rayder handled that. It was like, you know what? You're here. Let's talk about what I really want. Because what I want is for none of my people to die. What I want is to get my people to safety. That's all I want. That's it. If we can get that, we're done. And then he sees Jon eyeballing the knife after they have drink to remember Ygritte, drink to remember Grin and Mag, the giant that died in the corridor.
The giant king.
The giant king, correct. The giant king who died in the corridor. And so that made me believe that were there only two giants left?
There's not many left. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so once we get through that, what I thought was interesting, again, Mance isn't worried about any of the people who've been lost. He just doesn't want to lose any more people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when he sees Jon eyeballing a knife, he's like, hey, you don't move. And I see what you're looking at. That's what you would do to somebody who just offered peace to you?
Yeah, right. That's the honorable Jon Snow. Come on,
You know
now.
what I mean? And I
Yeah,
was like, talk about playing to somebody's sensibilities. Like, what is like really? You could take me out, but what kind of a man are you?
yeah, yeah.
Take me out, but take me out in a real way. Not in. I just literally offered peace, and
Mhm.
everybody lives, and you're gonna kill me because if you kill me, you know they're gonna kill you. But you knew that when you got here, as we just discussed.
Yeah.
What I thought was the craziest thing was as soon as that happens, that is when they are overrun. And
Mhm.
this is where we switch to the next character.
Big time.
They are overrun from both sides of their camp by some banners that at first we're not quite sure whose banners. Well, actually, I was pretty sure whose banners they were, but we had no proof at that very moment, right? And I
Mm.
didn't see them being on that side of the wall. But
Yeah.
so they're overrun by Stannis and his troops. And Stannis makes it clear, hey, I came out here to talk to you. I don't want to slaughter these guys and kill all of your people, but I will.
Mhm.
I absolutely will and put them in chains and make them my prisoners, but that's not my intent.
Yeah.
And in Mance Rayder in true form, you know, he's on the north side of the wall. We're not on the south side of the wall. This is his land. And no matter how much power you feel you have, and no matter whom you are, we don't kneel on this side of the wall.
We do not kneel. Yep.
And like, no, I'm surrendering, but we don't kneel.
Mhm.
And I thought that was a pivotal moment for him to have. And we move from there to Jon telling him whom he is. And that really, I think, saved Mance Rayder's life. The fact that Jon Snow is the son of Ned Stark, who is an honorable man to everyone who has ever lived in the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, yeah. And then Stannis really, listens to Jon when he says, you should just take him as your prisoner. And, then you can use his people in your army as long as you keep them alive.
Right. And, and burn all the bodies before nightfall.
And burn all the bodies before nightfall.
All of them.
Yeah. And that's kind of where we end with Jon, right? That is exactly
where we end.
That's kind of the end with Jon. Stannis, I mean, like, he's got a little bit before getting to the wall, but it's not that much.
But it is interesting.
He does go, like, they do have the Iron Bank thing,
which I do want to talk about that a little
bit. Yeah. So let's go for it.
I want to open with this on the Iron Bank. Iron Bank, IRS, same thing? Yes, no? Federal Reserve, which one?
Yeah.
IRS or Federal Reserve?
Yeah, Federal Reserve for sure.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. But then when it got to the whole debt thing, like, how do they collect their debts? And it's like, wait, maybe they're IRS and not the Federal Reserve, but the IRS would be going to get what the Federal Reserve is owed. So I guess they're 1 and 1.
Certainly.
And so when he's there, again, Stannis is one of those characters where it's like, get your ass off your shoulders, dude. Like, understand that everyone knows what you're saying to be true, but the way you're putting this into the world, thinking it's going to benefit you, is not.
Yeah, and just, like, you haven't won any war, you haven't won any battles, and you keep losing, and you keep, like, your claim to the throne becomes less and less relevant as more time goes by.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. And so what I thought was the most interesting was he states his claim. He explains why he feels that he should get a loan from them, although he and everyone else is well aware that they're already bankrolling Tywin. They decline, like, immediately. He's like, hey, we understand. We appreciate you. Thanks for traveling all this way. Nice to see you. No.
Yeah.
Nothing else to discuss. No.
Yeah.
But then you have Sir Davos, who is the craftiest smuggler I've ever heard of in life. This dude should not have been a smuggler. He should have been a preacher or something, because that man has a silver tongue.
Yeah.
He said everything that needed to be said, and he didn't tell one lie.
Yeah.
He didn't have to tell one single, and that's why I wanted to. It's not even so much about Stannis; it's about Sir Davos. He didn't have to tell a single lie to get his point across. You want to put a child in power. Oh, wait, no, you're not putting a child in power. You're putting a 70, 80-year-old man in power. How long is he going to be alive?
Yeah, who already owes you a ton of money that you're probably never going to get back.
Correct. Yeah. So how about you back our guy who's in his prime? He's won battles. He's battle tested. He's seasoned, yada, yada. And it's like, I'm sitting there like, I wish I had money to loan him right now, because that's a good case.
Right.
And of course, the Iron Bank does give him his funds, and Sir Davos goes and gets his buddies and everybody, and things go forward. And then the next time we see them after that is at the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I thought was interesting also, and this isn't per se Stannis, but it is Stannis's family and his kingdom or his realm. So it's when the Lady Melisandre is having a discussion with Stannis Baratheon's wife's name. Nope. I know I didn't write it down, so I'm not even going to look at my notes.
Yeah, I forget her name.
But Lady Baratheon, I'll call her that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lady Baratheon.
Yeah.
She's hanging out, I guess, with Melisandre at this point. Like, you just pop up to come see her while she's taking a bath. You guys stand around and talk. It's like, huh? But I understand that she's a priestess, and to her, she is just a higher level of power.
Mm-hmm.
What we call it, power? Influence.
Yeah, status.
Okay, status. Mm-hmm. But so she just understands that she has a higher level of intelligence and intellect than her. I'll say that.
Mm.
What I didn't understand was, what was it she was trying to explain to her that they need the daughter for? Like, you already don't like your daughter. What are you going to argue? Mm. Oh, you think they're going to kill your daughter? You don't like her.
Right.
You want her dead anyway. Let her go. And I'm not saying that that's acceptable. It's just a reality of some of these characters do confuse me with, they say one thing, but then they do something totally different.
Yeah.
You know? And I understand also, as Baelish has said, this is a place full of liars. Mm-hmm. Everybody's playing a game. Right. And I'm just curious to know, not with Melisandre. We know Melisandre is about the Lord of Light, and whatever she feels she is prophesizing from him.
Yeah.
I'm curious about Stannis' wife. Is she just a religious nut?
Yeah, she's like one half religious nut, one half crazy Liza Aaron. You know what I mean? It's like that crazy sort of like, so like her husband doesn't really care about her all that much. She wasn't able to produce a son for him. She's a super religious person, like, so she hates her daughter. Like, so she's just got a lot of issues that, make up for a terrible personality. And, like, that's, I don't know. There isn't a whole lot to dive into with Stannis's wife, really.
Agreed. That was really the most part, was just her and Melisandre at the fire having that discussion and her agreeing.
Well, even just deeper as a character, there really isn't that much to scratch the surface. Like, she's not necessarily one of those you have to like cross-examine or anything like that. She's just like just a terrible person.
She is definitely a terrible person, without question. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but that pretty much does bring us to the end of Stannis. As you said, there wasn't much with Stannis aside from the Iron Bank and then the wall.
Yeah, he pretty much stays on Dragonstone and burns bodies for most of the series or the season, and then they go to the Iron Bank.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the beginning of the season. I'm gonna say for the rest of the, like, you just got your money. Now you're going back to burning people, man. Get to war. Let's get this done.
Yeah, but before that, that's what they were doing. They kept burning people so that they could try to, win favor with the Lord of Light. So
correct. Okay, that makes perfect sense. And so from there, let's go.
We still have so many characters.
So many. And okay, so I know how to do it now.
We're gonna have to choose the main ones.
I am. So I'll even list the next ones I think we should do. We're gonna do Arya, which is gonna do that. That's gonna be the Hound and everything else involved. Then we'll get to straight from that to Brienne, and then I'll cover Brienne and Pod. Okay. From that, we can now jump to our last three, which will all be Lannisters: Cersei, Jaime. Cersei and Tywin, Jaime, and lastly Tyrion will be how I would think we should end with Tyrion.
Right. Okay.
So
I'm okay with skipping Daenerys, actually.
Yeah, there's not much with. Oh, actually, so let's even just. I'll give the short version of Daenerys. Yeah. Daenerys has decided to go back because she doesn't like the fact that some of the masters have taken over again in the places that she has conquered. So she's gone back to conquer them, and she's really just finding out what it takes to rule. You're going to hear things that you did and how they affected other people. You're going to see the effects of your actions. You're going to find out that some of your consorts, some of your council, she found out Jorah Mormont was a spy for King's Landing at one point, and she banished him from her sight and from her realm. And if she ever was to find him again, she'll kill him.
You're gonna
Have his head off.
You're gonna nail thousands of masters to planks along the road to Marine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's just doing Daenerys things. Just
doing Daenerys things, because she doesn't understand the difference between freeing people and being a different type of master.
Yeah, well, she doesn't understand how to govern. She doesn't know how to govern a nation or a city or anything. She knows how to liberate, which is fine, but what happens when you liberate the cities? And this is where we're starting to, see, just because you free a city doesn't mean you don't leave a power vacuum. And now that the power vacuum is there, like, everybody's trying to be the top person. So, like, literally, she's actually done worse. She's done more damage with everything that she's been doing in the past, however long she's been out in Essos doing that stuff. But, because of the fact that she's not sticking around and actually governing, she's just moving from place to place after she destroys their governmental structures.
Right. Right. And what I think is crazy is like you're saying, she's really discovering how inequipped she is. She's even discovering how much control she doesn't have over her dragon. So, like I said, we're not even going to do too much on her. Also, I will add before I finish Daenerys, I love that Grey Worm, and her name slips me at this very moment.
Missandei,
and I like her name. That's why I wanted to find it to say it. Because Missandei. I might name my child Missandei.
Nice.
But I like their interaction. I loved the humility of it from both sides. Him seeing her naked while she's been giving him these lessons. So they've already been growing closer. And then just her unsurety of, is it even acceptable for him to look at me that way? Right. I didn't like it, but I think I liked it. Like, I don't think he was trying to harm me or spy on me in a bad way. But I did notice he was watching me. And then when he comes, and this is where Grey Worm is already one of my favorite characters personally, but this is where Grey Worm took a nice skip up in the rankings for me. It takes a strong-willed person to go from being a slave to not just being someone who is now over people who were once in your situation as well and helping them or leading them into battle, but also learning to become human, learning what love is, what emotions are, learning languages. Like, it's crazy the way that you see just her helping him learn what they're calling the common tongue, which we call English. I've seen how that is changing his perception. And it's in turn also changing her perception, because I love the question Daenerys asked her, which was, when they, cut the Unsullied, do they take everything? And she's like, what do you mean everything? Like, do they take the pillar and the stones? And it's like, I don't know. You ever wonder? Like, and when she asked that question, I was like, whoa, that's a real question to ask someone who's in your service and they're not even sure of their own feelings. Because now she has to be honest with, damn, I guess I am interested. I do want to know what's going on. And so then following that, again, him coming to her and just having the humility to apologize, not even really understanding what he's apologizing for, but being aware that there was something that happened and he wasn't quite sure if she appreciated it. And what he thought was going on in her mind wasn't pleasant. So he made the effort to reconcile as quick as possible. I thought that was a huge sign of growth. And a sign of growth from her was at the end where she lets him know, I'm glad you saw me. And he agrees, I'm glad I saw you as well. And I'm like, y'all go ahead and have some babies. Just
they can't.
Okay. I know.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, it is good. It's nice to see a little relationship blossoming, because I really just can't stand Daenerys and Dario. I think it's just so bleh. I want to throw up.
I do too as well. And only because I personally, I didn't realize this until, honestly, those two. I didn't realize I kind of have an issue with people who are in power having relation of any sort with people who are in their service. Yeah. Because it automatically looks as if it's not something of will. It looks as if it is something of obligation. And then even in the situation in which it went down with Dario and Daenerys, it's like, oh, you'll never touch this, and what are you thinking? And take off your clothes. Like, what? Like, you just...
That, and I just don't like any simping. I don't like that he simps for her so hard, and it's just like, dude, I mean, come on, man. Like, she's not all that great. She's kind of annoying, and
she's super annoying. There's no kind of
like, so like, stop, chill out with all of that stuff. I get it. She's like the only girl with white hair you've ever seen, and like that really does it for you. But come on, man, dude.
And I did think that too. I was like, is it just the white hair? Because he's never seen her naked or anything.
No, exactly.
And it's like, aside from that, well, we don't know what his choice is. All we know is he says he doesn't prefer whores, which to me just sounds like you just don't like to rape people.
Yeah, well, Dario, I mean, they have sex towards the end,
yes.
right? Yeah.
They have sex before. Well, so here's the thing. In reality, we only have the illusion with an A, that they had sex. We actually, I'm more than positive they had sex. But my general point is, we could find out. Well, I don't, but I could find out in the next season that there was only some foreplay and some teasing to get him to do what she needed him to do, and then when you return, we'll finish this rendezvous.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably like Daenerys a little bit more if she was using it in that sort of respect, but no, she's just horny for him. She's horny for him, and he's horny for her, and it's just like, all right, you guys have a kingdom to run, by the way.
Yeah. And he's your number one assassin. You shouldn't be sleeping with him.
Can you stop making googly eyes at each other? And could you just run the kingdom so your dragons don't kill children? How about that?
Oh, and that's exactly where I was headed. I'm glad that's exactly where I was headed. That's the other thing she's finding out. Not only can you barely control the people, you can't control these dragons.
Not anymore.
And I don't think she can't control these dragons because of their size or anything like that. I think she can't control these dragons because she's not focused on learning the connection with them. I don't think she's aware that she can have a mental... I've already figured it out. Nobody has to tell me. I know I'm not an idiot. This has to be what it is. She has a mental connection with the dragons. When they were younger, you saw that. And I think she was aware of it. But she's become so distracted. She's become so involved in Daenerys' Khaleesi and the ruler and the queen and and 50 other names I can't remember.
Breaker of chains, the mother of dragons, the
the biggest diva in Esteros.
And basically, and this is the thing too, is like, dragons only respect power and competence, and so if you're not competent, they have no respect for you.
And she has definitely lost her
She's
level
lost
of
her
competence. Yes. And but I do feel like the oldest dragon, the black dragon, was the first one to notice.
Oh, Drogon? Yeah,
Drogon, exactly. So here's the thing, and this is what I noticed, and this is really probably where we're going to end with Daenerys, and then we'll start with the last 5 we were talking about. So what I thought was interesting was when the guy or at the beginning of episode 8, maybe episode 9. I don't think it was episode 10. It was either 8 or 9, I believe, where the dragon comes over the hill and you see the kid throwing the rocks. And then you realize if you think about it, you're like, oh,
that was the kid.
She was throwing rocks at the dragon.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And it rises. And as soon as it shoots the fire and gets the lambs or the goats, the first thing I think was, did it burn the kid? But we didn't know immediately. It came back later. No. And then when the dad comes and it's like, this is my girl. And I realized, like, that's the same. Oh, it did kill the little girl.
Yeah.
And what I thought was very interesting about that was, how did Daenerys not realize at this point that you have no control over Drogon specifically? The other two, they're kind of like puppies. They're like lap dogs. Everywhere she goes, they're right behind. They're in tow.
So this actually makes more sense if you stick to the book of Daenerys, because she's 13 years old in the book.
Right. I think you did tell me that.
So her concept and experience and knowledge is just not there. Like, she doesn't know what she's doing. She's still like a kid trying to figure it all out, which doesn't translate as well in the TV shows, but obviously they need to age her up for obvious reasons.
Right.
But like, so that there is a certain level of like Daenerys is supposed to be this petulant child that thinks she knows everything but realizes she knows absolutely nothing.
Hey, she
And
still has
so
all those characteristics. We just don't
yeah,
know how old
she
she is.
does. Yeah, and she definitely does. And then, like, you see that sort of like come out of her when she won't open the fighting pits in Marine.
Right.
You know, like when all of the people are coming and telling her, like, look, this is giving people purpose and entertainment, and you're taking this away from them. And like, you can't just keep doing all of this big sweeping change all at once and expect for no repercussions to happen.
I think she
You're
expects
going to
the
have
world.
repercussions.
Yeah, there's always going to be repercussions. And I think she expects the world to just, I won't say be docile, but she expects the world to have no controversy.
She expects it to bend to her will because she's
That
a
for sure.
Targaryen. And like,
Yes,
she just got that Targaryen air of superiority where it's like, you guys have to listen to me because I'm a Targaryen.
Now, what was her and her brother a child of incest? Do we ever know that? Is that something that comes up?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. So her father was the Mad King.
Right.
And I don't know if the Mad King, I think he probably did marry his sister, or maybe he married another family member, you know what I mean? So
right, because it was discussed that the Mad King was a child of incest, and that's why they believe he went crazy. Which is kind of what they were saying about Joffrey, and we discussed that at the beginning of this episode.
Right.
And so again, with Daenerys, that's pretty much the end, though, is she's realizing what it takes to lead, what it takes to rule, and that she is not properly equipped. And not only is she not properly equipped, I think she's starting to realize that she's only been doing things because she's been allowed to do things. There hasn't been a lot of pushback. Right. And the people who have pushback, they don't have dragons.
Yeah.
And they don't have 8,000 unsullied.
Yeah.
And they're not sleeping with the head of their mercenary group.
Right. Yeah. She's definitely been she's kind of like, which is funny because it's like she started off in hard mode and then she like built her way up to being in easy mode. And now she's kind of got to go back to being in hard mode again.
I think
you know what I mean? So it's like, because she just got too comfortable, like being able to have all this power. And she doesn't really understand the nuances of like, how does somebody keep power?
Right.
And this is that's one of the biggest lessons she has to learn is like, if you expect to be the ruler of the world or whatever, how are you going to keep that power? How are you going to keep that status? Right. And so
the way you just described Daenerys just made her the perfect example for people who are starting businesses. You just really made it's like, so you want to see what happens when you get everything you want and you don't know anything about it? Here, let me show you. Daenerys Stormborn.
All the logistics that are involved in the minutia of the thing that you think is super easy.
Right. Yeah. That's wow. That is a moment. And so from there, we can go to, again, my number one favorite character till this very moment. A couple of other people have definitely switched positions. The Mountain is higher, but that's only because, as I said, I actually like the athlete who plays him the person who is now his character.
Yeah.
But to my favorite character, the young Arya Stark. Man, this little girl is getting it. Like, how can you not enjoy Arya Stark? Oh, wait. Did I say I was doing Arya or Brienne first?
No, I don't know. I mean, you can do Brienne. Yeah, there's nothing to say about Brienne until she crosses paths with Arya anyways.
Exactly. That's why.
Yeah, you might as well.
There's a little to how she finds Arya.
Yeah, but that's kind of just minor.
Yeah, come on, don't do hot pie like that.
Yeah, hot pie's minor. I don't think you'll ever see him again.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I thought that was what I thought. I was like, oh, that was when with the scene with Brienne, Pod, and Hot Pie. This is what I honestly thought. I was like, oh, his contract ended that day.
Yeah. I mean, he'd like, all those kids are going through puberty too, anyway. So it's like he's gonna look like a 20-year-old by the time they need him again.
Yeah, that's for sure. So Arya and the Hound, they're still traveling. They're getting on, and not much really goes on with them until they find the older guy. And this is after,
right?
Yes, they find the older guy on the farm that's been raided and everything, and he's the last person left. And he's dying. It's not like he's not dying. He's dying. He's just dying a slow death. And This is also after Tywin has placed 100 silver coin bounty on the Hound's head, not for fleeing and deserting the capital, but for killing 5 Lannister men. 5 Lannister men that, if you asked me, deserved to die. And I think Tywin wouldn't have approved of half of the things they were out there doing. Yeah. But hey, you know what? You can't kill anybody that's under my ruling without me getting a little testy about it and having to prove a point. And that's what I gathered.
Of course.
So what I like is from that very first moment of the Hound doing the mercy kill, killing the guy by stabbing him in the heart and explaining to Arya that's where the heart is. And she kind of just has that like, that's where the heart is. Then the guy jumps on the Hound's back, they get into it, and then the other guys that come, and that's how the Hound finds out there is a bounty on his head. And he's looking at the guy like, and you thought you were going to be the guy to collect that bounty? Like, you didn't wake up on the right.
This is in the inn, right?
This is the end of.
It's in the inn, though, right? They're inside of the.
Oh, like in the inn. In the inn. Yes, this is in the inn. Correct. I thought you meant in the end. Oh no, no. This isn't in the inn. This is still at the for the Hound and Arya. This is this is past the inn. They've already gotten out of the inn. They've gotten to the guy at the farm. This is right after he mercy kills the guy at the farm. Like they're still literally in front of his body.
So was that the scene? So is that after the scene Arya gets her sword back?
Yes.
Or before? Oh, so
Arya got her sword back. I want to say the second episode, maybe even the first episode of the season. This is around episode 6 or 7.
That's when the Hound has one of his best lines. He says, "If any more words come out of your cunt mouth, I'll need to eat all the fucking chickens."
Oh yeah. I really like the Hound, but I don't think you're supposed to like him. But I like him.
I mean, he's a villain,
he's higher in the ranking than
he's an anti-hero. Yeah,
right. And he's higher in the rankings than the Mountain. But as I get to the end of this, we'll know why the Mountain is now higher than he is.
Yeah.
But so. What I like about that moment when the other guy comes and they're talking to him and Arya kind of steps up, like, I remember you. You were one of the guys when I was a prisoner and you said you were going to rape me and all these kind of things. And he's like, oh, are you going to kill me? And the Hound's like, so are you going to kill him or what are you going to do? Like, oh, I can't. I don't know his name. No, he goes, is he on your list? I don't know his name. He can't be on my list. The Hound looks at the guy. What's your name? And he tells him his name. Like,
yep. There you go.
Did you not hear the conversation they just had?
Yeah.
And so, what was his name? His name started with an R. It was Rory or Rorge?
Rorg.
Rorg.
Yeah, I think it was Rorg. Yeah.
And so the young Rorg decides, oh, I'm going to tell them my name. And as soon as she gets his name, she's like, thank you. Smoothest move she's committed this entire time. Like she's already killed. I want to say I should have been keeping count. I almost want to go back to the entire series.
Third.
I want to say this might be her 4th or 5th. Honestly,
I don't know. She killed the butcher's boy, or she killed that boy outside of King's Landing. Then she killed that guy that's on the way on like the one of the people following her.
Right.
With the Brotherhood out without banners. Right.
Right.
And then
she killed the guy that had her sword.
Right, that's the guy that she killed for her sword. Okay, yeah.
And then this guy, so he would be number 4.
Gotcha.
He would be number 4. And I honestly still think we may be missing one because they've gotten in a couple of battles where we are. She killed 2 of the guys actually when they found that group of guys that were talking about killing Robb Stark.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, she's on like 5 or 6 or 7, something like that now. And it's amazing because we know what her plan is. Her list has basically tripled in size. She has so many names on her list now. It's like, how do you go to sleep? You have to say all of these names before you go to sleep. That's a lot of names. And I like how the Hound was on the list, and we'll get to that. So
yeah,
as they're journeying through, and then so they finally make it. This is 3 days after Lady Arryn has been pushed out of the Moon Door. The trial has ended. However, Arya does not know that Sansa is there, and Sansa does not know that Arya is outside at the gate.
No, but they were. The Hound was going to the Eyrie to sell Arya to Lysa,
Lysa,
And then
right.
they find out as soon as they get to the gate that Lysa Arryn's dead. I just love that scene where Arya just starts laughing.
Yes,
Just so like, of course they're dead. Of course. This is like the second time this has happened.
Right.
You know?
And it's like at that point, how could she? That's what I thought about. At first, I was like, why is she laughing? And I was like, wait, this is the second time that's happened.
Yeah, she was about to go meet her brother and then they died. And then now she's going to meet her aunt and they died. And she's just like, well, forget this.
Right. Well, I mean, and think about even how it all started. She was just getting her lessons and then everything's overrun and you look up and, oh, God, they're killing my dad. It's like,
yeah,
everything just went bad. Everything goes bad the moment she steps on scene, but she's never the person involved.
Yeah.
And so what I thought was very interesting is once they're moving forward and there's not much, there's just kind of like this whole discussion about things, and you almost see this look in his eye, in the Hound's eye. It's like he's getting proud of Arya. Like he's really proud of the growth and the maturity that's coming into her. And it's like, okay, in a little bit, you'll be able to fend for yourself. Like you'll be able to do what you need to survive.
I think he likes her a little bit more than Sansa because Arya is a killer like he is.
Right.
And so I think he kind of like he relates to Arya, you know.
Extremely.
And she even tries to kill him in this season.
Correct. Twice.
Yeah.
Twice.
Well, yeah, one with the rock and then one she literally stabs him with needle and he's just wearing armor.
He's wearing his armor. Yeah. And that even sparked. He's like, what?
Yeah.
I can't believe you really just tried to kill me.
Right.
And I wasn't mad at her, but I think that's why I think he also showed her where the heart was, because it's like, I see you really have it in you, but if you have it in you, you need to know where to go.
Me in the belly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we see how that works for other people. Unless they're being poisoned when they get stabbed in the belly, they'll probably survive. Oh, we didn't even discuss that. I'll jump to that after Brienne, and then I'll go to Lannisters. And so once they're out, they're just on their journey. Like we said, you know, we see how he's growing fond of Arya. What I think's interesting is when Arya, we fast forward to when Arya is doing her sword practicing and he's taking a dump behind the rock. And it's like, hey, shit, some other time. We got companies, people coming. Yeah. People, hey, you can shit some other time. There's people coming.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, right.
It's like she wants to say she has on armor and I can't get through that.
Yeah.
So what I think is interesting is as soon as, you know, Pod's there and Pod's looking and they're all just kind of talking to Arya like, oh, how are you? And it's really cool. And how far are we from here? And not having, I honestly thought when she saw Arya, she knew exactly who she was looking at, because a girl dressed up like a boy, just like you, who plays with swords. I told you everything you needed to know about this person. Yeah.
Well, Brienne's not very good at her job, to be honest.
I don't think she's the brightest, if I'm being honest. She's a great fighter.
She's great at fighting. Yeah.
And so what and then on a sidebar, she could not be the brightest from all the licks she's taken in the head from being a warrior.
Fair.
Just saying. Aside from even Jaime's a little lost in the head. All of the murderers and fighters are a little off. They're all a little off. But you know what? Yeah. Everybody's a little off in this show.
Of course.
And so what I thought was interesting was the discussion that is had between the Hound and Brienne. As you know, Pod looks and he's like, that's the Hound. And he looks and he notices Podrick and he's like, I can't believe you of all people. How did you find me?
Podrick Payne.
Right, Podrick Payne. And so it was the discussion that the Hound and Brienne had where they both are very clear about the fact that they want to protect the Stark girls. So why are we fighting again?
I don't know. Arya didn't really trust Brienne.
I know that part. That much I 1000% know.
So I think that's why I think that's why the Hound fought her. Honestly,
he just felt he knew for a fact like, nah, she doesn't trust her.
He wasn't about it. Like she didn't want to go with her, and like So it's like,
I mean, she hardly wanted to go with him.
Yeah, that's true. But she definitely doesn't want to go with Brienne after, you know, now that she's like with the Hound. Like basically the Hound has told her like, well, where else? There's nowhere else for you to go.
Right.
And Brienne's like, well, I can save you. And Arya's like, well, there's nowhere for me. Where am I supposed to go? You know, like, and that's what even, you know, the Hound says. He's like, where's she supposed to go? You know, like,
right. And if you don't know that there's nowhere safe for her, then you're definitely not the person to watch her. And that's what I thought was the best part. And that's what I think happened is he was offended at the fact that Brienne kind of made jest of the fact that he said he was protecting her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she was offended at the fact that he called her stupid.
Yeah.
And I think that's really why they were fighting. But again, to me, and I even have this in my notes, it's the dumbest fight ever. You're having a fight, like a fight to the death, to see who's going to protect this person. You know, if it's two of you guys protecting her, that's more people helping, right?
Yeah. I you know, but you know, like they're in a world where you can't trust anybody, right? So
correct.
It's like,
correct.
Yeah.
And so from there, Brienne ends up winning the fight. The Hound is pushed off of a cliff. Lacerations that he's sustained from fighting Brienne, as well as, you know, from falling off of a mountain.
Yeah.
Like just falling off of a cliff, which I was surprised he was still alive at the bottom. Like, wow, this dude is ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
But his brother is too.
Yeah.
And so he's begging Arya to give him a mercy kill. Like, please, like, you remember what heart is? All right.
Yeah.
Get it over with. I'm on your list anyway. Get me off your list. And she had the coldest stare down. Just, I hear you, but I have nothing to say to you.
Yeah.
I'd rather sit here and watch you struggle. I'd rather listen to you beg, squirm, and then I'm going to take your silver because you can't do anything about it. Can't do a thing about it.
No.
And I'm just going to leave you here to rot.
Mm-hmm.
Kill me.
Well, I think she also understood like that part of her didn't want to kill him.
I don't think so either. I think he was off of her list and he didn't even know.
Yeah. I think that's kind of where it left it. Because, like, you know, for as much as she did hate him, it's also like she doesn't want him dead, you know, like, and, you know, maybe even, you know, like, even if she just leaves him there, like, he might survive, but he also might die. So, like, either way, she's not really losing much. And it's like, you know, like, and she doesn't have to really be involved. So she decides that she's going to book passage to Braavos.
Well, first, she's not trying to go to Braavos. First, she's just trying to go north in general. Like, where are you going? Take me there. You going north? All right, take me there. And that's when she finds out that the captain's not going to the north. And, well, where are you going? I'm going to Braavos. It's like, oh, well, I want to go to Braavos too. Well, silver won't get you there. Silver's not going to help. Oh, no, this isn't silver. This is iron. And like, well, where'd you get this? Valor Morghulis. Valor Dohaeris. Come on, let's rock. Like, I was like, yo, that was the coolest way to end her story arc going into Braavos. Yeah, for sure. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, so she's gonna be on her way to see what the faceless men are all about.
Correct. Yeah. And also, that is the last we saw of Brienne and Podrick. After that fight, they left looking for her, and it seemed like they were still headed towards the Eyrie.
Yeah, I think they're still trying to get to Sansa, right?
Do they know that Sansa's in the Eyrie?
I think so. I don't know.
I don't think anybody knows Sansa's in the Eyrie.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Aside from after the trial, the people who are in the Eyrie now know that she's alive. But I don't think anybody else knows that she's in the Eyrie. And so from there, let's go ahead and stretch this one out because it's about to get crazy, guys. This is the family that we all know most of this is based around. And what I liked about this season with the Lannisters is you saw the Lannisters falling apart the entire season. You saw them literally crumbling at the structure from the very beginning. And not just because of Joffrey's death, but just because there's so many ulterior motives for each of them. They all have something else they want to do, and none of it is in accordance with what the other one wants to do. So much so that Brienne was sent to find Sansa and save Sansa by Jaime. And the Valyrian sword she has is Jaime's. So Oathkeeper. The Oathkeeper is Jaime's sword. And Brienne is now in possession of it because he has more faith in her fighting with it than himself, essentially. Yeah. And he gave her a brand new armor and a squire and Podrick. Yeah. But so that was the last we saw of them after she fought the Hound and defeated the Hound, which if this were like last season, I would have been rooting for her to kill him.
Right.
But in this season, I'm just like, okay, can you guys end this with a discussion? Because I like both of you as characters too much to see either one of you die right now.
Yeah,
I
not
don't
gonna
want it.
happen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's what. So here's the thing. I'm watching it with my wife. She watched that particular episode with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I told her exactly what I just said. I was like, yeah, I like both these characters. I don't want either one of them to die. She goes, you're watching the wrong show if that's what you want. And I'm like,
Yeah.
like I know that already. Don't shoot
Very,
me in the
it's
But yeah,
true.
no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Wrong show to think somebody's not dying. Oh, Swords came out? Who's dying?
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, I guess we can really just move on with the because we really already covered everything based on Jaime, aside from anything that's involving Tyrion. Nothing happens with Cersei unless it's involving Tyrion, and the same with Tywin.
Tyrion's
so the last,
really
yeah. Like, so the last person is really going to be Tyrion, but inside of Tyrion, we will cover everyone else.
Yeah, yeah.
And so after the death of Joffrey Baratheon, Joffrey Lannister, we have this moment where, or this just story arc for Tyrion where he goes from the dungeons and he's trying to figure that out while he's getting a few visitors here and there and they're talking to him, but it's mostly just Varys and Jaime. Nobody else is really coming. And Varys is not being as secretive as he was when he was at least going to see Ned Stark. When he was going to see Ned Stark, he was like cloak and hood, don't know who I am.
Yeah.
But
well, and this is, you know, the Tyrion's in jail because it's a perfect sort of like way for Cersei to get rid of him once and for all, to make sure that he, you know, gets pinned for Joffrey's murder, even though I think she knows that it wasn't him either, you know, but she doesn't care. Yeah. She wants to see him. She wants to see him suffer anyways. So it's like, and Tywin's kind of the same way. Like Tywin, you know, I don't know if he buys that he killed Joffrey, but it's still like he's ready to get rid of Tyrion, and you know, so like he's just using it as an opportunity. Yeah,
for sure. So we'll do Cersei first. So in the whole aspect of Tyrion, being in the dungeons, going through everything, every time we get a glimpse of Cersei or she has a discussion with someone, the nastiness and the disgust of it all just kind of keeps coming to the surface. Like you keep seeing, like, damn, you really hate your brother.
Yeah.
But it's not until a little later when Prince Oberyn, this is actually after the trial, when Prince Oberyn goes and has a discussion with Tyrion, and he tells Tyrion of the story when he was an infant and Cersei tried to pull his penis off and stated to the other children, like, he's going to die soon, so it doesn't matter. Like, who cares? He's going to die. And how much he wanted him to die and has viewed him as a monster. And even in her discussion with Jaime much later, when she's like, he murdered our mother, and it's like, he was an infant. Like, you can't be that lost in your head to think your brother killed your mother as an infant.
Right. Yeah.
And to a real world comment on that, I think it's interesting that people don't know that only 25% of births actually happen, and we still have as many people as we do to populate this earth. 25%. That is, now I don't know how accurate that number is anymore, but I remember that maybe like within the last 10 years, that was the proposed number, like 1 in every 4. It's like, what? Are you really? Is that a real thing? That doesn't mean per person, but if you add up everybody together in the world, is 1 in every 4 actually give birth. I'm like, wow. So when we get back to that situation, it's kind of like, well, the theory is one of these people aren't going to make it 75% of the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, childbirth, you know, and death during childbirth isn't exactly uncommon either, especially during the Middle Ages. So,
I'm sure it was way. And that's kind of my point. Like, I'm
just
saying,
Cersei being, it's just Cersei using excuses to hate Tyrion. That's all it is.
Correct. Yeah. And so when we move forward with Cersei, let's just be clear. She has lost it. I don't know how much she had at the beginning, but she has officially lost it to the point at which she's scared. And you can see she's scared because there's a point where she goes and she speaks to her father and she makes it very clear that I don't care what you want from me. I'm not doing it. I'm not marrying
Loras.
Loris. I always call him Laurel. Like, why is his name Laurel? It's not. She doesn't want to marry Loris, and if she is forced to marry Loris, she will tell the truth. And her dad asked her, "Oh, what truth is that?" Because now we now see for fact that Tywin has been in denial of the rumors of his children sleeping together their entire lives.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. She makes the statement, Cersei, of this going on for 20 years. That means you guys didn't start messing around until you were in your 20s, because they're both in their 40s.
No, they're supposed to be like late 20s.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, actually, that would make sense because they're
or maybe in their
hiring
30s.
children at like 14 and 15. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think they probably had, as gross as I have to even say this, they probably had their first sexual experience with each other when they were like 14 or something like that.
Yeah. And
so she might be like 30, 34, 35.
Yikes.
Yeah, at the oldest.
Because I do know they don't say she's barren, but they do say she's up in age, and they don't even know if she's capable of bearing children anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. And but yeah, so she confessed. She tells her dad straight to his face, like, what's going on, like, about me and Jamie. And he's like, no, you're lying, you're making it up. And she goes, nah, you believe me.
Nope. Yeah.
You believe me. I can leave now because I know you. I'm looking in your eyes. I know you, like, you're hurt. And I'm just like, what do you stand to gain from this?
Nothing. She just wants to make people hurt. She just doesn't.
That's it.
When she loses any modicum of control or power, she lashes out and just wants to make people hurt. Like, Cersei does not like being out of control, and the fact that her father is marrying her off to some person just makes her feel like a child again. So it's like, she's just going to be that vindictive child again.
Right. That the same person that was the whole time. And so from there, and we're still on Tyrion. So let's get back to the trial. So Tyrion's on trial. The trial officially starts, and they have all of the witnesses come in at the very beginning. And our first witness, this is probably the most account that I've given quite a bit of account, but I'm probably going to give most of this step by step, if I'm being honest. So we first open with the very first, what was the word? Witness, which is Sir Meryn Trent. And he says what he needs to say to accuse Tyrion or to paint Tyrion in a bad way without saying why Tyrion did any of the things he did, like the things he said to Joffrey, smacking Joffrey. And Tyrion tries to, like, can you explain to them why I did those things? Like, he had a crossbow pointed at Sansa while he was making you strip her and beat her with a sword. Like, for real?
Yeah.
But I'm wrong for, okay, no worries. Got it. And I understand how that buildup started happening there. And then so from there, we get to Pycelle and his, he stole all of my poisons. And then he states how he saw Sansa leaving with Ser Dantis. And I think to myself, so you saw her leaving and you let her leave?
Yeah. Which is strange.
Right.
I mean, because maybe they found that out like after the fact, and then just Cersei had him say that just to make sure that, like, that she's tied into it. Yeah.
Right. That is plausible. Excuse me. Sorry about that. No, that is extremely plausible, simply because what he also states is they found Ser Dantis, because basically his boat had floated back in by that point, and he still had the necklace. But that was weird because he didn't have the necklace. Sir Baelish had the necklace on the boat.
He threw it off the boat as soon as he killed him.
Oh, see, that part I didn't know.
Yeah, he killed Ser Dantis and then threw the necklace into
over there. Okay. Yeah. See, I thought it was the other way around. And that's fine. We miss things sometimes. It's a lot of episode, and maybe I even saw it and I just don't remember it in this moment, right?
Right.
But so from there, we get Cersei, and she's on the stand now, and she recalls Tyrion making the statement of getting revenge on her for when she had Raz thinking that Raz was Tyrion's woman, and she wasn't.
Right.
Of course, we know what happens to Roz, and hey, that's what happens when you're when you betray Lord Baelish. He's going to make sure you pay in some way.
Oh yeah.
And so the next, after Cersei, now I also want to say Cersei really just wants somebody to kill Tyrion. That was when I understood that, like, no matter what happens, she just wants him dead. It's not even about guilt. It's about getting him out of the picture.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I think she feels getting him out of the picture will help her and Jaime's situation. I don't know how.
I'm not sure how either. I think it's just out of spite, to be honest. Like she just can't help herself. She just hates him so much, and she just wants she just wants to see the end of him. Yeah.
Right. And so Lord Varys gets up there on the stand. He's the next witness. And Lord Varys says again, like everyone else, what he needs to say, what he is instructed to say. Clearly, they've all sat and had their powwow, said everything they know, and all right, this is what you're going to say, this is what you're not going to say. It's like they've all sat down with their attorney already, and they happen to have the exact same attorney, Cersei Lance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is all a kangaroo court. It's a dog and pony show. Mm-hmm. All these people are basically just lying to set Tyrion up as the killer of Joffrey, even though Tyrion had no hand in killing Joffrey whatsoever.
Right.
So yeah, so it's just like, and Tyrion the whole time he's basically getting more and more angry about this, and he's just like, he can't believe that everybody's just lying about this whole thing.
Right. And in the way they're lying, I think that's what started getting to him. Like, wow, you guys really have this down. Mm-hmm. I don't even get a chance.
No. Yeah.
And so he asked his father, who presides over the court at this moment, who is the head judge, can I ask the Lord Varys one question? Just one. And he makes it very clear to him and by asking, you said that you remembered what you would remember, even though the history books wouldn't, but everyone knew what I did and that I saved everybody. And you said you wouldn't forget. Have you forgotten? And he's like, no, unfortunately, my Lord, I don't forget anything. Not a thing. Which a little bit later we see like, oh, you really didn't forget and you really had his back. And that's why I do like Varys. I really like Varys' character because he is true to him and his beliefs. You may not understand them. You may not like them. They may and they may not benefit you, but he's right. Every single time he makes an action, it's the right action.
Yeah, well, and he's also said many times before, his loyalty is to the realm.
Correct.
It's to, the better of the entirety of the realm. So
correct.
He's pretty predictable in that fact. He may be the master of whisperers and a manipulator and stuff, but he is very upfront with his sort of philosophy.
Correct. Yeah. And I like it. I don't think that there's many other people in King's no, I'm not saying King's Landing. I don't think there's many other people in Westeros, but the level of honesty that he portrays, even within his farce, and the farce that he commits is that he serves the king. That's the farce,
right? Or
that he serves Cersei. I'm not really sure which.
Yeah, either one. Whoever has the most power at the time. Yeah.
Right. So from there, recess is called. Tywin's like, all right, let's take a break. They go into the chambers. Jaime and Tywin have their moment of discussion, and then they come to an agreement. And that agreement is Tyrion is not going to be killed, which Tywin keeps alluding to. Oh, he's my son. I wasn't going to kill him to begin with. And it's like, liar.
Baloney. Yeah.
La. You've told him to his face you would kill him if you had the chance. What I think is interesting is when
the best case scenario for Tywin is a reason to kill Tyrion that isn't his.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he's like, oh yeah, now I have a reason to kill Tyrion, and it doesn't look bad on me because I'm just doing what the king wants. And
you've said this to him many times long before you had the opportunity.
Yeah.
But so the agreement that Jaime and Tywin make is he will not kill Tyrion. What will happen is when Tyrion is found guilty, he'll send him off to the Castle Black or to the Wall to be a Night's Watchman, and he'll live out his days at the Wall, which is crazy to me because it's like you guys have no clue what's going on at the Wall right now.
Yeah.
Don't even send the people you don't like to the Wall right now because that's not going to be a pretty sight. But Jaime believes it. Jaime agrees that if Tyrion that happens and Tyrion is not killed, he'll step down from the, he'll give up his cloak.
Yeah.
And he'll go and rule Casterly Rock, and he'll sire children with a suitable wife, and those children will have the last name Lannister. And hey, that heard everything he needed to.
Yeah, basically giving Tywin everything he wanted because he wants the Lannister name to continue.
Correct. So, Yep. So once they reconvene, he goes back. Jaime does. He goes straight to Tyrion and he tells him, "Hey, chill out. Quit with all the antics. Stop interrupting. Let this end. You'll be sent off to the wall and you'll be able to live. I mean, you'll be sent to the wall. I'll be at Casterly Rock, but you'll be alive." And it seems at first like Tyrion's going to go along with it. He doesn't like it.
Yeah.
You could tell he doesn't like it, but it looks like he's going to go along with it. So next what happens is the courts call their next witness to the stand. Moment of silence before I tell you guys this next witness. The next witness is none other than Shay. That's right, Shay. I know some of y'all know that already.
Shay, the funny whore.
The funny whore. Yeah. She's funny, all right. So Shay is Cersei's witness. So Cersei has called Shay up. And Jesus Christ, Shay, like, I was mad.
Yeah.
I was so upset. Like, she said, super double crossed him. First off, when I heard the footsteps, when I heard the click, 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 I was like, that's the first woman's footsteps we've heard.
Right.
It's Shay. It was obvious. Who else would it have been? Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you see his face, and I'm just like, and then they pan to her, and I'm like, no. Watch me, guys. This was my body language.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
I'm just sitting there like, who does this? Like, you didn't love this man. There's no way you love this man. That's not, you can't love someone and go to that.
Yeah, and then go bang their dad.
Oh, yeah, that. Yeah. We'll get there a little bit later. But yes, that does happen as well. So Shay comes and she basically promised that she'll say what she needs to say. And what she does is she takes everything that actually happened and she spins it.
Yeah.
And so, no, he was not able to sleep with Sansa, but she essentially alludes to the fact that she was his whore before, explains how all that goes down. That was all truthful, except for the fact of, he took me and I was his prisoner. Like, no, y'all were a lot more than that, but okay, I see you're still hurt because you're Shay the whore. Woman, do you not know what people do when they try to save you? They try to hurt you, so you leave. And if you're not watching what's going on now, you now see why he tried to get you to leave.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so she says all these things, and he interrupts, and he's like, Shay, don't do this. Like, don't take their side in this. Like, don't do this.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I'm just a whore. Oh, and that's when
stupid lady,
right? That's when Tyrion. This was my favorite scene of this entire season. There were a lot of awesome scenes. Like, I didn't do it. We didn't do it. I don't think last episode, but I definitely have my 3 favorite deaths of this season.
Oh, nice.
But this had to be my favorite scene because he loses it. Like, he
blows up on the court.
Yeah, you could tell he turned red. He saw nothing but red inside his eyeballs. And he just tells the real truth. He tells everything that they don't want to hear, but is honest. Did I kill Joffrey? No, but I wish I had. And I wish I didn't. I wish I let Stannis just barge into the city and take all of you guys and kill everybody. And if I had more poison, or if I had the poison, I'd put it and I'd watch all of you guys swallow it. And then he turns and he explains that watching Joffrey suffer and strangle to death was more pleasurable than 1,000 whores could ever be. And I'm like, man, this guy should have been a rapper. I know I keep saying that about the Lannisters, but he was spitting like Tupac Biggie bars the way I'm looking at it. It was really that, like, that's what they need to hear.
Yeah, well, I mean, he finally snaps, right? And he's just like, you know what? This whole thing's rigged. you guys are already painting me out to be the villain, so I might as well act like the villain. You know what I mean? Like, I might as well be that guy since you guys already made me out to be this person. So
and he said, and he states how he wishes that he was the guy that they think he is.
Yeah.
So at the end of his rant, he goes off and he's like, you know, I won't get any justice here. I won't get any justice from you. And I won't give my life for Joffrey when I didn't kill him. So I will let the gods decide, and I demand a trial by combat.
The go-to move.
Yeah, the go-to move. And when he said that, I'm like, oh, so that's his like ace in the hole.
Yeah.
Because he knows he has his brother. And that's I was immediately like, oh, okay, so he's finally gonna get Jaime to fight for him. And I was like, wait, Jaime has one hand.
Yeah, Jaime can't do it.
Right. I'm like, all right. Who also at the very moment I was not thinking, who's Cersei gonna have fight? Half Thor.
Right.
And so first I'll do the Half Thor scene when Cersei goes to get Gregor and she approaches him. Sir Gregor, I'm glad you came this way so fast. I appreciate it. And it's like, well, who am I killing? Does it matter? No, not at all. I mean, it didn't matter when he was just killing anybody who was in his face. It's like, hey, there's some weapons, pick them up. Whing!
Yep.
Whing! And man, I just wish Half Thor played a character that I could champion on, honestly.
Yeah, he's not a very good guy, the Mountain.
Right. But if you ask me, he's probably one of the best people on this planet to play that particular character because of the prowess of that character. Like, I wonder if they knew he was out there and just kept trying to get him and they couldn't get him in the first few seasons and they finally got him in season 4.
Oh yeah, he's the beast.
Right.
Well, and he started when he was like 20. Like,
as a bodybuilder or as a power?
Half Thor's like not even 30.
Really?
Yeah, like I think he's still
I don't know how old he is.
20s.
I never even thought about how old he is.
So I think he started doing the Game of Thrones thing when he was like 21, 22 at the most.
Oh yeah, because
like,
I want to say young. At that time he was. I think he's still competing, but at that time he was like at the height of competing, of like being the strongest man, and what's crazy is I think the same year he was in this show is the same year he had they had a controversial results on one of his competitions, and that to me kind of explains how you can go from that to doing season 4 and finishing, because it's like, all right, my regular profession, I'm having some issues over here. Let me just stay over here where the guaranteed money is for now.
Yeah, for sure.
Excuse me. So he gets Half Thor, or excuse me, Cersei has. I gotta stop calling him Half Thor because that's not his
name.
Mountain. The Mountain. And that's how you know, like, no, I'm a real fan.
Yeah.
But so she has the Mountain as her champion, and then we go back to Tyrion talking to Jaime about who his champion is going to be. It's like, well, look, I can't do it. I can't even be a stable boy. So he has him go get Bronn. And Bronn comes in his new duds with his doveskin gloves and his great cloaks and his colorful clothes. And I'm like, who is this wimp?
Yep.
Like,
he ain't going to do it.
At that point, I'm like, oh, he ain't going to do it. And he's just making like, hey, Tyrion, listen, sorry, but.
Yeah, I'm rich now.
Right. And then on top of that, you want me to fight the Mountain? If I sneeze in the middle of this fight, I'm dead. So I really appreciate it. He did the same thing he did with Podrick. Like, that's fine. I'm sorry, Tyrion. You don't have to be sorry. Like, it's fine. I understand. Enjoy your life. You've done plenty for me at this point. You know?
He already did fight for him once. Yeah.
And that's why, again, that's why you have to appreciate Tyrion's character overall, because there is a real level of humanity to him. A real level of it. Like,
well, so and a sense of fair play, like, not asking a friend to go, risk his life twice, Right.
Like, and that's the other thing is he sees these people as real friends. You don't just work for me. Like, no, I respect you as much as you respect me. And so before we even get to who his champion becomes and how that works out, what I did like was the discussion that he had about cousin Orson.
You remember that
story? The cousin Orson
hitting
story?
The Beatles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gurn. And it just didn't make sense to him. Like, why is he doing it? It's like something is going on in that head of his. He may not, and it might be in a different language that I can understand, but something like there's a lot of activity in there, and there's a reason he's doing this. And what it said to me was he is not capable of killing.
Yeah.
He's not capable of killing. The reason he's not capable of killing is because he's been preyed upon for so long. He would never, ever take the opportunity to put someone under his boot, because he forever lives on under the verbal boot of everyone else.
I mean, but he did kill. He killed in this.
No. He did kill, but I mean, like in an unfair fashion.
Yeah, but no, he fought in season 2.
No,
he was on the way to Erie, or
right. And I'm saying killing in an unfair fashion. Like he was killing to save his life and to save Lady Stark. I mean, Lady Stark.
Yeah, and then he fought in the Blackwater too. He's been killing actually this whole time.
I agree, and that's what I'm saying. I don't. Okay, maybe I did say that. I did say I don't think he's capable of killing. I don't think he's capable of murder.
Yeah, I don't think he understands the violence as much. Yeah,
right. Because that's what I should say. Because we already stated in this era, everyone is capable of killing, but there's a difference between killing in war or killing for purpose and just being a murderer.
Yeah. You know, enjoying the violence. Yeah,
correct. From being a Joffrey. And so what I think is very interesting is after he tells that story, that's when I get the level of humanity from him. Like, okay, you're not capable of doing something as sinister as poisoning someone or something of that nature. Like, okay, that makes sense, actually. For everything that, everything we know about his character, that makes perfect sense. Looking for love. He's a fool for love. Very clearly a fool for love. And he admitted that.
Yeah.
And
romantic.
Right. And so then you have Prince Oberyn comes to speak with him, and Prince Oberyn tells him the story that we were just talking about a moment ago, where Cersei states to the other children, he's going to die, he's a demon, and all of these things. And he even tells them about the lore, the stories that have reached across the oceans, were that he was born with a tail and his head was bigger than his body, and he had one red eye, and it was nuts.
Yeah.
For him to have to explain to Cersei, like, he's just a baby. Yeah. He's not a monster, he's a baby. And then he explains everybody that I want revenge on. Prince Oberyn explains everyone he wanted revenge on, everyone he wanted to kill was right there in King's Landing. And he has his first opportunity to fight and kill the Mountain. Now I'm going to speed through that because that's an amazing fight scene. Yeah. Right. Killed his sister, her children and everything, which is when they, just at the orders of Tywin. And at this point, I've come to the conclusion, Tywin only has one thing in mind: rule. That's it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So if you're in his way, you're dead.
Yeah.
What was crazy to me was when Prince Oberyn's like, after telling him everything and, how his sisters always wanted him dead, I'll be your champion. Yeah. I was surprised by that. Didn't see that one coming.
I mean, I kind of did when, Oberyn confronted Tywin before all of this.
That is true.
And was kind of like badgering Tywin a little bit and like didn't, because Oberyn hates the Lannisters.
Yes.
He hates Tywin. He hates Cersei. He doesn't really hate Tyrion because he doesn't know him. Right. But like,
Jamie, everybody
else. He hates Jamie. He hates the Mountain. And so it's like, he has the opportunity now to legally get his revenge on the Mountain without getting in trouble by the king, because if he were to just murder the Mountain, he might get in trouble.
Right.
But at least now he has the opportunity to fight him, and kill him, get his revenge. So we get to that battle, right?
Yes, we get to that amazing battle because Oberyn kind of showcases his talent. He was known as a great fighter. It was clear that he was very talented in the art of murder, as well as most of these guys are. But clearly his cockiness was his fall because he had won
big time.
You cut him down. Yeah. You speared him straight through the stomach. You speared him in the shoulder where he was basically immobilized, but you played around so long that he got just enough energy to kill you and crush your head with his hands.
You poisoned the tips of your spear too,
right?
So that it would kill him eventually. So it's like, all he had to do was take 2 steps away from the mountain and he would have been fine.
Right.
It's just that he wanted to gloat and, he stepped too close to the mountain grabbed him, took his feet out from underneath him.
I mean, he is like a 7'1" man. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of wingspan to outrun. And if you're right here and his whole hand was able to do this because of where you were.
Yeah, you were way too close. Way too close.
And that was all I kept thinking. It was like, okay, brag a little bit. He kept making points and gestures towards who gave you the order at Tywin. And it's like, okay, you understand the level of ability, like you were saying, the level of ability and availability that there is to this situation where you cannot be penalized for certain things.
Yeah.
But do you know how to win? Like, do you know that's what I was really wondering. Like, do you know the difference between a victory in a war and a victory in a battle? Because you barely won the battle just now. The war's not over because he's still breathing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you want him to say your sister's name. That's all you're waiting on. Put a spear through that man's face, please.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, of course. Of course. That's what everybody was saying at that point. But, he gets grabbed up by the mountain. The mountain decides to flip him over onto his back and literally squash him like a grape. Yeah. Takes his hands and just digs into his eyeballs until his head explodes.
I crushed your sister's head like this.
Yeah.
I was like,
oh, so crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And I think that happened. Now, that was after the war at the wall, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I don't know. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. I'm not those last 3 episodes. They do kind of because there's so much action, it kind of blurs. Yeah. And it's all the same stories that they're just kind of intermingling to get it all out. What I also thought was crazy about the whole situation was immediately after he crushes his head, he falls back out. Like I said, he had just mustered up enough energy to do that. And he was pretty much incapacitated, dying himself. So I was really bothered by that because Prince Oberyn had he had a great reputation as a fighter.
Yeah.
He had a great reputation as someone who is feared on his side of the planet and clearly feared someone on that side of the planet because the mountain didn't come in playing with him. He didn't ask who he was fighting, but when he saw who he was fighting, he, some dead man. And it's like, nah, if you can say, some dead man, you know who he is.
Yeah, no, Oberyn is like and before, like he traveled all over the world and basically learned, fighting styles from Bravos. He learned all like the fighting styles of the world. So he's a very competent warrior. But like you said, he just way too cocky, way too cocky for his own good, like, and that's what Game of Thrones will get you. The moment you think that you've won, think it's again. Yeah, exactly.
I was so upset by that because again, I like Halfthor as an actor, as a athlete. However, I don't care for the mountain. And so I was excited. I was like, kill him. Oh, yeah,
me too. I hate the mountain.
I was sitting there thinking, what happens when you blow the top off of Kilimanjaro?
Yeah.
My brain, I was thinking of some of the craziest things because I really wanted him to kill him. And he didn't. And then I promise I was sitting here sad. I was just,
I know.
I feel like I felt what his wife felt.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that.
Ilaria.
Like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. The horror. Just horror. Like you thought you were winning, and then all of a sudden, yeah.
And so,
awful.
Right. Just terribly awful. So after that, Tyrion has lost now. Oberyn is dead. And guess what? Nobody can come and fight and be mad about it because he volunteered himself to fight in a trial of death. So you're just dead now, buddy.
Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting is after he's dead and you get back to, they take Tyrion to the dungeons, fast forward, not even going to get into the little small things in between before this gets going, because nothing really happens important until Jaime comes in the middle of the night to see him. And essentially is like, hey, let's go. What are you doing? I'm getting you out of here. Let's go. Who's helping you? Varys is helping me. Varys, you have more friends than you think. Now shut up and let's go.
Yeah.
And he takes him where he needs to. And he's like, stay here, go here. And Varys will be there. He'll open the door for you.
Yeah.
And he stands there for that minute and he thinks. I thought that was the coolest moment because I knew immediately, nah, he's still too mad to leave.
Oh yeah.
He's still too mad to leave.
I mean, if you're gonna leave, you might as well handle some business before you go.
Just a little bit. And I don't think he would have minded if he got caught and killed in that moment, as long as he did what he needed to do.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah.
And so at first I was very curious. When he first popped up, I thought he was gonna go see Cersei.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's going to kill his sister. Because honestly, I think she would have been an easier target.
Maybe.
But the target he found was as easy as they get.
Yeah.
So when he first opens the door, I'm like, oh, where is he? And I see the leg and I immediately know who that is. And I'm like, really, Shay? Really? And then she says, oh, Tywin, my lion.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, who, my what?
Yeah. Ooh. Say, huh?
I would listen. This was me. I sure wish guns existed back then for that man. Wow, got that. All right, we out.
Yeah.
And so he goes over there. She sees him and she immediately goes to grab the knife and he lunges into action and strangles her with her chain.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a pain death. The pain he felt inside. The anguish, that was what that was. That was hurt.
Yeah, he was betrayed. Yeah,
extremely. Like, you're my dad. Like, these people hate me. These people want to kill me.
You heard the story of my father, setting me up with a whore and then telling me that I had to, watch her get, have sex with a whole bunch of soldiers. Like, come on, this dude's a bad guy, and you're like now laying in his bed.
And and what I thought, honestly, was that she was planted there then the whole time, and I think that's why from the moment,
right? Maybe.
Yeah, because I think that's why it made me think from the moment that she met Tyrion, what did Tywin keep saying? If I catch you with a whore, don't take any whores here. Don't take. He kept profusely bringing up whores.
Yeah.
And it's like, Dad, I'm doing what I'm supposed to. Like, there was nobody else knew what was going on except him and Shay. Well, until Varys caught her. But so you go from that, and that's when I was like, she had to be a spy for Tywin the whole time.
I know. Absolutely. I mean, it makes more sense than her switching on Tyrion.
Just getting mad. Because then the next question is, why were you still there?
Yeah, you could have left. Like, Varys gave you a bag of gold. Tyrion gave you a bag of gold. Everybody told you, get out of here.
Well, Bronn said he saw her get on the boat.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, so did you come back? Did they go find you and bring you back? What happened? Because at that point, they're only bringing you in as Sansa's handmaiden.
Yeah.
They don't even know. Well, Cersei knows, but they're bringing you in as Sansa's handmaiden.
Yeah.
And that's why, and that reminded me of when Cersei goes to Tywin a few episodes a while back, and she's like, remember the whore I told you about? And it's like, huh? Like, I was always wondered what happened with that. What was that about? Now we know what that was about. Like, oh, this is going to be our main weapon if we ever need to do something against this dude.
Right.
And after he kills Shay and he notices, the weapons, the crossbow and things on his father's wall, because that's whose bed she's in, he grabs the crossbow and I forget what they call it, but the crank. I clearly didn't forget, but he grabs the crossbow, the crank, and a couple of arrows, and he heads over to the loo, to the latrine. And who does he find sitting upon the stool? His father.
Yep.
Tywin Lannister, who's Tyrion. Put the crossbow down, buddy. Guy. You can't possibly think I'm putting this crossbow down until I put a couple of these arrows in you.
Did you really think that I'd let them kill you? I was never gonna let them kill you.
First time we saw Tywin Lannister scared was right before he gets killed.
Right.
He was frightened. He was not so frightened. That. And so what I thought was the best part was not that he shot him while he was on the stool. It was, oh no, he told you what not to say, so you didn't get shot. Don't say that word again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Told you.
Didn't even shoot him yet. He just had it trained on him and was still talking to him. Was like, hey, don't say that word no more. Oh, what are you talking about? You're just a whore.
Think.
Listen, buddy.
You shot me.
Right. You shot me. No shit.
Yeah.
But I also enjoyed. Right. And however, I also enjoyed the methodical nature in which Tyrion was moving forward. He wasn't moving in angst. He wasn't.
No, he's taking his time.
Mm-hmm.
He
And that's why I said
he cranked that next arrow real slow. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more.
Right.
And so when he hit him with the second one, what was crazy to me was that second one was in the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, at first I was thinking, "Ooh, got him in the neck," but no, that second one was in the shoulder. And at first I was like, "You can't. He's not gonna die from that." But I'm like, "Wait, no, he got shot in the stomach first."
Lung. Yeah, might have.
And that's what I was thinking. It might have been the upper lung, like just right at the upper lung. And it's like, oh no, he's gonna drown. He's gonna suffocate in his own blood long before anybody finds him.
It's gonna be a very painful death.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's essentially, well, not essentially. That is exactly where Tywin ends. Shay is done, and then Tyrion goes off and he does what he was supposed to do the first time. He knocks on the door, and so much time has passed. Varys is like, "What did you do?
Yeah, where you been, man?
You know, it's
I'm supposed to be rescuing you."
Right. And it's like, then he puts him in the box. He's like, "Do you trust me?" And he ain't said a word. He's just somber. Yeah. Gets in. He ain't got to sit down or nothing. He's short enough to just stand. Yeah. Close the box and then lift him onto the boat. And the moment they put him on the boat, you hear the bells. And everybody knows those bells mean that there's been some type of an intrusion or a murder inside the castle.
Yep. Not good. Not a good sign. Not good sign. Not good.
Yeah. Varys immediately goes,
"I guess I'm going to."
And goes right to the boat, because it's like, wait, you didn't come back. Then, oh no, that was you. Yeah, no, I can't even stay here because they're gonna know. They're gonna automatically assume I was involved with you, and if they don't assume it, I might have to just say it, so it kind of just dies off. So
yeah. So he knew that he had to go too, because he would have been killed
for sure.
Easily. Cersei would have killed him real quick.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. I think once we get to Cersei, we're gonna know for sure that I don't know what her retaliation is gonna be. I want to say that I don't know what her retaliation is gonna be, but we're gonna know for sure where she stood with her father, because their last interaction made me think she could care less if he was alive or dead. You know, at that point, at least. At that point. Maybe not before, but at that point.
I think she's kind of got the Tywin mentality, though. It's like, nobody kills my father but me, you know, sort of thing. Where it's like, you know, like I don't care that he's dead. I care that it was Tyrion that killed him.
Correct.
You know, a little bit more like that.
And I know for sure she's going to blame Tyrion. She's not even going to think to blame anyone else because he's escaped. So it's automatic.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And this time she'll be right.
Yeah, that's true. She will be right.
Actually be right. Yeah. But so that brings us to the end of all of the main characters and a few of the extra ones that we wanted to sprinkle in there. Yeah. So yeah, my full thoughts on this season, as I said, I do still believe that is a informational filler season. So not a filler. I don't want to call it a filler because filler seasons don't have as much information. They just have a lot of meaningless moments. There were some meaningless moments, but a lot of the information that came through in this season was pivotal. Like we needed it.
Yeah, big time.
So
it's kind of like a transitionary season, I would say. It's like it's in the process of kind of like moving a whole bunch of characters to different areas so that they kick on the next iteration of their story almost. You know, so it's like Arya's going to Bravos, Tyrion's going somewhere else, you know. Like Jon had to come back from somewhere and now he's back at Castle Black. It's like all of these sort of like moving pieces are getting set up, you know? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, and again, like I said, off air and I'll say on air, I think that is the coolest thing because it does make me realize like, okay, there's some stuff I have to look forward to. And that's why I'm staying away from a lot of the review videos and stuff on YouTube because people are just going to tell you about, you know, all the things that made them dislike it. And I haven't even really gotten into the things that make me dislike it because I'm kind of saving that for a special episode.
Absolutely. And, you know, like you should enjoy it for the first time. And, you know, even if you don't even like, if you don't dislike the last two seasons, that's okay too. You know what I mean? Like not everybody has to hate the last two seasons. Like just because you read all the books doesn't mean that the last two seasons are terrible. Just means that they're not anything like the story that you wanted it to be. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So
And let's be real,
yeah.
books and the adaptions are never the same. So who's really mad about that?
Exactly. Yeah,
Um,
if like if you get upset, then maybe there'll be a book out that you can read, but I don't think that you will. I think that you'll have a different perspective on it, especially by keeping yourself away from all of those like people with all of their opinions. I think that looking into the like last two seasons, it'll be interesting to see what you have to say, because I think you probably won't be as critical.
okay.
Just because of the fact that like you weren't in the forums talking about all the things that you hated, and like
Right,
and
as
like
people were doing as it was
and
going on
building up
already.
that momentum of like, oh, this thing was wrong and that thing is wrong, and why did they do this way? And it's for you now, it's like, oh well, you're seeing it all fresh, you have no context
Right.
of what they should be doing and shouldn't be doing.
Right.
So yeah, I
But
think that you'll yeah.
no, yeah. Well, and you were around when this was a new thing and everybody was watching it. And I was like, can you guys stop talking about this around me? Because I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Of course.
Now,
Yeah.
now I care so much. I'm like, why didn't I participate?
Yeah, I
Um,
know. Well,
but mhm.
we've gotten pretty close to our limit here. So do you want to wrap up with one more thing? What do you got?
Yeah, so I'll give my last thing, which I said I will give this episode, and I didn't the last episode, which is my 3 favorite deaths.
Nice.
Um,
All right.
and Joffrey is not one of them. I thought he would be, but he's not.
Yeah, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I could
So
probably agree with that. Yeah.
right. So my 3 favorite deaths are the the guy that got hit with the giant's arrow at the wall
Oh
battle that
yeah.
flew all the way
That
through
was
and then landed on
gnarly.
the other side. That was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Prince Oberyn's head being exploded in the
Yes,
hands of the mountain. And
definitely.
of course, the Lannister I wanted to see got more than I wanted to see Joffrey got, Tywin
Yeah.
Lannister.
He
Like,
finally got his. Yep.
yes, indeed. Yes,
Yep.
and I really expected it to be a rival or something. So for it to be Tyrion, I love that even more because
Yeah.
his kids hate him just as much as everyone else.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was very satisfying. Yeah,
Yes,
a
that
very
part.
satisfying, cliffhanger for Tyrion. Whereas,
Mhm.
like, you don't know what he's going to be doing next, but you're glad that he did what he did just before that.
Yes, we don't even
Like,
know where he's going. We don't even know where
yeah,
he's going right
you
now.
don't even know where he's going, but it's great because he killed Tyrion or Tywin, and that's all that really matters. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's all for me. Overall, like I said, I really enjoyed the season.
Mm.
From the comments I have heard, I expected to enjoy the season, but I think I liked it more than the illusions or excuse me, the information that I had been given in the past.
For sure. Well, yeah, man. That was a lot of fun. Thanks. Yeah, we had another 3-hour long conversation. That was pretty cool.
They love us for it, man.
Yeah. Why not? Just break it up into small pieces, folks.
Right.
But yeah, thank you so much for listening, you guys. We really appreciate it. We hope that you're having a wonderful Wednesday evening or whatever time you're watching this episode. We very much appreciate you. Please leave us a comment if you feel so inclined. Please consider subscribing to our Facebook and our Instagram and our YouTube page. YouTube would be very important for us. We want to build our subscribers there, and it's through people like you that give us a subscription that really make our day and really help. So thank you again. If you want to check out Keilyn's work, it's If Numbers Could Talk. It's on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. He just came out with a new episode last night, so make sure you check that out. And if you like to check me out on Exofathom, that is Monday and Friday. Sorry, I forget which days. At 8 p.m. So please feel free to check us out over there. If neither of those things are your thing and you just love Screen Time Continuum, thank you for listening. And we will see you on Saturday when we do our WandaVision review for the finale. That'll be a lot of fun. So we look forward to seeing you this weekend, and have a wonderful rest of your week. And thank you so much. Keilyn, you want to sign off?
Appreciate you guys. That's all I got. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. And if you haven't been doing that the whole time you've been tuning in to us, you're not listening.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, you guys. Hey, have a wonderful night, and we'll catch you this weekend. Good night.